Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I was just realizing, oh, hey, it says that the stream quality is not that good. Haha, finish Jaeger. It is a little late, unfortunately. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And especially thank you for all the submissions. The amount of people that wanted to get my feedback or just share their projects is really crazy to me. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There's a lot, and that's awesome. So I'm really glad that you guys engaged with this so well. I am going to start looking at things now. Hopefully I set this scene up properly. But without further ado, we're going to start with what I made with Term 09 and Comrade Mango. So I made this. I was going to make this as something that would be an example for everybody else and then submit that so that people understood what we were going for. It kind of got out of hand. I got pretty busy this last weekend. But here we have what we were making. Remember this mod? It's been a little while. The main coder has been busy with other things. So I wanted to take this opportunity to remind people it existed. And if anybody's interested in helping us develop it, you can contact me on the Discord. But anyway, what I really wanted to do was in the first couple paragraphs here was just to really quickly lay out what it was, right? Okay, that's red. Time out for 5 minutes. Don't say stuff like that, please. This is a multiplayer mega. This is not a multiplayer mega campaign. This is a mega campaign that Tommy K made, brought from CK2 to Victoria 2, and then we made our own custom Hoi 4 scenario based off of filling in the gaps from when he stopped playing Victoria 2. So that's why the map looks so crazy. But yeah, we got a good amount of work done, and we can start showing some of this here. But it's very schizo, yeah, because the point of divergence is like 1,000 years. Like, you know, the earliest start date in CK2 is when like Charlemagne existed. So like that's how far back it was, even earlier than the earliest start date in Crusader Kings 3 currently. But the vision of this project isn't to give every single tag here content. While there's ideas that we have for things that could be interesting gameplay wise, like how Japan has influence in southern China and northern Siberia, and how Yuan is reasonably fractured, could cause an interesting conflict there. The Greeks having their empire and then having it removed, like you're not allowed to be the Roman Empire anymore. The French taking the mantle of Holy Roman Emperor based off of what happened historically in the mega campaign, and the fact that we're making like a self-insert Tommy K character for the VSA, sorry, makes it really interesting, and we wanted to highlight that. But the main point of it is to make basically the minimum viable product is make Tommy K play the game, so that if there's more to this, then we can expand it. And that would be like making sure that there's interesting content that he would like to play. But and then it's the majors, so like how they interact with each other to make the world war. And this document details that. So there's the lore here, which I'm pretty proud of. I could have done better voice line delivery in it, but I think that it's a really well-made video. So like this said, the minimum viable product. This is something I didn't mention in my video, but it's something that I recommend for all Hearts of Iron 4 mods. This is something that is even a thing in game design. Every game that I've worked on, you have a minimum viable product. So if somebody goes like, did you make the game? Yes, I did. Here it is. It's the bare minimum of what you can say achieved it. And this is kind of the negative connotations, because you know how like a lot of games nowadays, they aren't finished when they come out. But the minimum viable product is really important, so that you know what to prioritize. If you're fleshing out corners of the world, then you're not able to actually make a minimum viable product. So because we need the USA to have content, and then the rest of the world having content, you need it to be this way. And Termo 9, if you're trying to make edits now, I made it this a public version that nobody can edit, so that it doesn't get vandalized. But the conflict is that there's a Central American Civil War, volunteers, French Emperor dies, Greece says, I'm not going to abide by the World War I treaties anymore. The communists in France revolt. The French emperor's daughter goes into exile into the VSA and eventually marries Tommen. So like literally like his girlfriend is a character in the game too. There's a lot of really cool things there we can get into detail, but basically this conflict timeline is what we need in order to establish what sort of skeleton content that we need in order for the game to be a minimum viable product, right? And then here too, we had the VSA's vision, like what we want to accomplish with the VSA, including a focus tree that we coded in. So this is, I'm pretty proud of this, just from the perspective of it being like pretty straightforward. As we get down the list, we're starting to get into content that isn't that important at this point. I don't mean it's important in the sense that it's not good lore. This is good lore. But when it comes to the minimum viable product and what we need in order to achieve it, it's not as vital. Like this information is still good to have, so if you're ever writing events about like the Central American War, like the Kokomez that is involved in New Lancaster, all this stuff. You need this lore somewhere. And it's good to have little blurbs here, especially later on in the thing. I would love to spend more time in this, but we have so many submissions that I really can't get too far into it. But we have just rough outlines of what we want the design to be, like who has the best military strength, factory strength, dockyard strength, etc., etc. And then here we have ideas for how Germany would divide up the world and how Greece would divide up the world too. And so that's a big Greece. Yeah, with the cultural map mode, like Greece is like, there's a lot of Greeks, especially in the Balkans. Release date when? Well, I need somebody to work on this with us. Like I need a coder, and I would code it myself, but I'm busy with too many other projects. So if there's any coders who want to take on this project, honoring Tommy K and his mega campaign, that'd be really cool. And feel free to message me on Discord so we can talk about how to figure this out. How did people submit these? There's a Discord channel here, a forum where people submitted their documents. We have a lot of different ones here. So, oh, interesting. Okay, that's good. All right, back to Edge. So I thought that I would showcase another one of my favorite mods, Clashing Eagles. It's a little bit of a preferential treatment, but this is amazing. This is I forget what this place is called. I'm gonna try to find it, the exact name. SOP, what is this? Scourge of Prometheus. So I haven't done too much reading into what this is yet, but you can tell by the way that this is formatted, it's like insanely good. Like this is far beyond what you would probably need if you wanted to make a Hoi 4 mod, but this is something that you could like get a job for. If you wanted to get something organized in for like a profession, this is what you look like. I wouldn't be surprised if the person who leads this mod uses Google Docs for their job, right? Like this is very good. They have like hyperlinks to the document tabs. It has emojis to show what it is. And the world building is really good. And they even have a timeline that starts off as early as 1914 and goes to 2023. And I think it starts in 2024. So this is insanely well made. Like I'm blown away that this is one of our submissions, and I really want to shout them out. But the one thing, and there's a lot of things I really want to get into here, like there's even links for like who these people are. Oh, it's crazy. But I really wish I could do more of this justice, because of how well it's made, but I really want to showcase that like this is really good stuff. Like we if anybody wants to pay attention to any of the mods that have been presented, I really recommend you check this one out because of the how like from the very little that I've looked into it, the vision of this project is novel and it's not trying too hard, at least not that I can tell. And but this is the thing I'm most excited about. So this makes you feel like this person's like a veteran of like Hoi 4 modding or has actually worked on a video game or something before. Because if you look at the general game design, I really wish that I had explained what a GDD is better in my video or gave other insights on how people can make their GDDs. But if you need any advice, I think that this is the best place to go. So if you go to the what's this place thing called again? If you go to the mod GDD submissions and you go to Scourge of Prometheus, you will see a design doc. This is the public design doc. If you go to the tab over to the left, you can't really see it here, but it's general game design. It then goes into what the design of the mod is supposed to be, right? So designs a philosophy, what this is like for every developer to know what you're supposed to do when you're actually designing content. The point of divergence is like 1914, the Ottoman Empire stays neutral, and it goes all the way to 2024. It's crazy. There's an entire timeline, but I really want to talk about this. So it's not a realistic mod. It's not a meme mod either. We don't consider ourselves to be rigorous. Some standards need to be maintained to make the mod be a coherent setting and a fun game to play. A fun game to play. There are so many things that I've seen, like lore, that it's like, I want to make this into a Hoi 4 mod. Sometimes people throw the baby out with the bathwater and they forget that you're making a game. But these people remember, oh yeah, this is a Hearts of Iron 4 mod and you need to make it fun, right? It's not a sandbox mod. So this is really good too. By defining what kind of mod you're trying to develop, you're able to filter out what you should be making at all, right? So the three that I can really think of at the top of my head is that vanilla Hoi 4 is like a sandbox, but because of how sandboxy it is and how the design kind of conflicts with sandbox, with the way that focus trees can like conflict with each other, it kind of falls apart. So then people were starting to be brought to like mods like Kaiserreich, which are relatively way less sandboxy, but still have a guaranteed World War II that's relatively balanced. So there can be a different outcome to the Balkan War, the Spanish Civil War, the Chinese Unification War, the American Civil War, and all these civil wars. And like Russia can go a bunch of different paths, but they'll always end up fighting Germany. So you always have a two-front World War II with the Entente having varied levels of strength. And that makes it fun because it's just sandboxy enough. So you have Kaiserreich-like mods, and then you have narrative mods. And I would even say that The Fire Rises is a narrative mod because of how much of a focus there is on the events and how like isolated the regions are, and each region has its own story that is kind of like a choose your own adventure in a way. So you can design around that, right? Like that's like very rigid. Like the only way you can have certain paths is if you win or lose in the European War or the Asian War or whatever, right? So with that in mind, they've already off the gate specified they're not a sandbox mod. Countries have set paths they go through, but no country can go to every single ideology group unless it's an extremely insular case, blah, 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 blah. France going Euro-communist, Britain collapsing, China dethroning the CCP in the beginning of the game are out of the table as it would destroy the balance of power. So, like, already very good. Very amazing. Destroy balance plan, make the content too dynamic to keep track of. That's another really good thing too, because if you make it so that there's like 18 paths that a country can go down, then how is everyone else in the world supposed to react? Even in the Tommy K mod here, our VSA vision is like Tommy K is technocratic, the legacy of the VSA is democratic, but he has a claim to the Saxon Empire, so he could claim the Saxon Empire throne, create a global technocracy, or stay democratic. But these paths, they would all still involve the main timeline of them getting involved in World War II against the German communists, right? So this is like really well made, this Scourge of Prometheus. Player agencies to be maintained in every possible case. So this is another really important thing. Player agency. So this is like a really hard, it's like simple and hard to explain. But you know how in a game, if you do something, the game reacts to what you do, usually, unless it's like mixtape, where if you fail something, it just brings you back to, it's just like a railroaded, like a theme park. No, that's not player agency. Monopoly, no player agency, right? You roll the dice, you land on a property, you either pay money, which you can't choose not to do. Well, I guess you can choose to sell your properties instead, but because of the way that the game works, there's only one decision that you make. Whenever you land on a property that hasn't been bought and you can afford it, you pay for it. Every time that you land on a property that you don't own, you have to pay. It's just a random number generator. Like a dice could play the game and nothing else would change, right? There's not much player agency in a game like that. Meanwhile, Catan, you have all these resources, and the main drive of gameplay is that you need to diplomatically resolve conflicts between each other, make strategic decisions on where to settle and what resources to gather for whatever victory you decide to go down. And that has a lot of player agency, but it's a similar game. It's a similar board game, right? So that player agency is really important, and the fact that they're even specifying that is also really important. Do not design any path that's imposed without player choice or fails automatically. Yes. Do not design unwinnable wars. Yes. Okay, another thing. Like, people make scenarios and then they have proxy conflicts that you're supposed to lose. The one I can think of the top of my head is early TNO Burgundy invasion of Free France. And that works because it's not Free France, Vichy France. That works because it's a narrative mod and you're not supposed to have gameplay depth for those things. Like, that's not what they designed it around, and that's good. But if you are trying to make a mod just like this, where it's not a sandbox mod, they have set paths and they can have conflicts, you would need to make so there's actual proxy wars that can win. And if you wanted to have a proxy conflict somewhere, but you only wanted one faction to win, you're not actually designing a game. And if you only have one outcome that you want to have, then you should make it a timeline instead of a game, right? Every conflict, no matter how insanely hard it is, can be won by a skilled enough player, and you need to work around that. And that's one of the best examples of player agency, and one of the reasons why people like playing Hearts of Iron 4. Finnish Shakers in chat, if you play Finland in Hearts of Iron 4, oh, it's so hard, you can't beat the Soviet Union. Oh, what if you did though? Okay, well then you get to annex this territory. Great, you still lose the first war, well, you had the continuation war. The entire point of what makes Hearts of Iron 4 fun is you take something that happened, a scenario, and then you control a country and then have it end up differently. That's the player agency, and because they have that enshrined in their design doc, I'm very confident this project's going to do very well. Proposing content has been an informal affair until now, resulting in constant changes constantly without the knowledge of most lead devs and writer team. He's bringing the bound debate. It's only caused problems. Yes. When proposing lower content, ask questions. Is this plausible or within the world of SOP? Yes. Good. Would this be fun to play? Yes. These are I can't believe that this is so rare that people are listing this stuff down, but now I'm seeing it and it's amazing. How much work would this take to add in Hoi 4? Is it even possible to code within Hoi 4? Yes. Oh my god. I saw those two lines and this is already the best submission ever, because there's so many cases of it being I want there to be a internal political dynamic that happens in this specific thing, and there's all these little doohickeys and baubles that you can click that became popular with TNO. But the way that TNO does it is that it's a supplement for the fact that there's not gameplay in the typical Hoi 4 sense of divisions moving around. If you have those sort of gameplay things happening while you're trying to while you're also trying, like, mini games happen while you're also trying to get ready for World War II. That can be overwhelming. Kaiserreich Germany does this, but and it's abstract in a card game. It's like, oh, it's a stupid card game. No, it's a brilliant. Because of the way that they designed the card game, you can reach it within a certain variable point, and you make strategic decisions in order to achieve it. It's an understandable mini game, and it's abstract enough for it not to be too complicated, where you're like, go to this CEO of this company and nationalize those industries. Oh, that changes the political ideology of this, and there's a negative event that you didn't know about would happen if you do no, that's way too much. It's way too in depth. Just have cards, and then you have a focus tree that unlocks extra cards that help you do that better. Like, there's just so many reasons why the Kaiserreich card game is so good, and now that people are asking me to play Hoi 4 live, I kind of want to take Kaiserreich Germany and really go granular with it, right? But the fact that they're asking these questions at all is going to be such a good content filter for everything that's proposed that the debates about whether or not something is good for the game can immediately be shut down just by these guidelines. So if somebody comes into your mod and is like, I want to add guerrilla warfare in Maine, in New England, in Kaltekrieg, you can be like, okay, is this plausible? Would it be fun? Would it be fun to play as a socialist Maine and just have a bunch of divisions? And no, it wouldn't. Like, what established content does that proposal conflict with? Oh, it's another really good one, because you have ideas guys coming into the game, and then they're like, hey, I want this to happen, and it's like, okay, well, what about these 10 other documents that you didn't read? If you're going to show up and commit to something in a project, you need to understand everything else that has gone into the project. Otherwise, it's not going to work, and you're going to have fights. Oh, and so, I already coded it in. Oh, okay. Well, now we have to rework all the 10 other documents that haven't been properly finished yet. So you know how, like, I don't have any insider information about TNO, and I don't want to be spreading rumors or anything like that. But the fact that there's, from what I understand, been 2 or 3 different attempts to modernize USA content. Like, at first it was one other thing, and now it's Yippee. Like, this may be a symptom of this problem that they're fixing by listing, like, if you're going to propose something, make sure it doesn't conflict with the lore that we already have. How would I propose that this existing content be changed if it's a playable nation? What would the gameplay be like? Am I committed to working on this path beyond the proposal? Let's go! Yes. If you can't answer more than one of these, think about it again before you consider a worthwhile suggestion. Yes. Yes. This is brilliant. Okay? Like, and it's like, oh no, but then nobody's gonna join and add their design to the mod, and what's gonna happen? Okay, well, like, the quality of people joining your mod is a lot more important than the quantity. And if you have all these people coming in and they're not actually, like, providing anything helpful or constructive, then you're done, right? Like, it's done. Like, is the mod actually going to come out? Please don't listen to my infinite teasers. Yeah, I don't know about that, but if this proposing content thing is adhered to by the developers of this project, it's going to be very good, and I'm very excited to see this. So I've been harping on this one for a long time, and I haven't looked at this specific stuff yet, but there's a lot. 24 pages. Okay, look at this. So ideologies, despotism, managerialism. Oh my god, look at Mario. There's a Mario. What is this? Look at this. Yeah, I'm not going to go down to 4th position just in case there's stuff that YouTube doesn't like, but yeah, main aesthetics. This is really good too, because if you have a bunch of people, like, I want to add graphics, and then people, like, this is actually something that happened in Talons and Twilight recently. We had somebody make all these really good focus icons, but then it's like, oh, it doesn't match our aesthetic. It's like, why isn't it not aesthetic, right? Useful resources. Permanent Discord server link. Copy link. Paste in the chat. everybody go show your support for Scourge of Prometheus, because this is a really well put together document, and I commend you for submitting this. And while I would love to go through this lore document, which is 14 pages long, I will not have the time. So thank you very much for the submission. I really recommend you guys check out SOP. 10 out of 10, probably the best submission that I've seen. If you want to have a good GDD for your project, you don't need to go as far as Scourge of Prometheus has, but the amount of depth that they put into the world building, especially this game design proposing content section, this is the sort of stuff that you want to have outlined for your project so that there isn't developer clashes and things like that. I want to read chat now because there's been a lot of discussions going on. When will I play Hawaii 4 live? I will soon, actually, if people actually want to see it. Will be a video about this? Well, if there's enough content to show in a video, yeah, I'd be open to making a video like this, like a lore review. By Red Gaming. Kaiser Germany being overwhelmed is the part of Kaiser Germany. Yes, it's designed properly, which is really good. We'll be releasing a demo soon. So it's Daniel Air 45. I guess this is the lead developer. If there's a demo, that would be amazing. I would love to see what you guys make. As long as it's not too TOS. But yeah, Scourge of Prometheus, definitely check out the Discord. It's really awesome. But yeah, so somebody said my GDD is short in comparison. That's something that also needs to be outlined. Like, it doesn't need to be long. Like, as long as you have a document, like the main point of a GDD, at least from what I think it can be used for Hearts of Iron 4 mods or any other modding project, is you have a document that outlines to everybody who wants to join the project what you're supposed to be adding and why you're supposed to be adding it. So it doesn't need to be very big. It's like, this is going to be a narrative mod. This is the idea behind it. It's initially just a pitch, and they can expand off of that. But you don't need to make it long. Like, making things long for the sake of it doesn't make it better. The quality of it is far more important. I might do another one of these if the views are good and people like it. Like, I'm thinking about doing another lore review soon. So maybe I'll do Scourge of Prometheus's lore and a lore review too. Like, you know, the stream that I did where people submitted their timelines. I might do another one of those. But yeah, thank you very much, Scourge of Prometheus. Let's talk about Clashing Eagles. So there's a wiki here. You guys can check this out. It's a Hawaii 4 mod, alternate history, set in the world, seemingly isolated divergences. Yeah, so we talked about the lore already. So if you guys have seen that stream, you can look at that. Thematically, a major piece in this mod's core is the idea that the new order is far solidified. The old order was shot and buried. The new order is struggling to secure itself. Yep, that's good. Core of the theme contributes to other smaller decisions. So, like, because this is the theme, they have certain point of divergences that justify this theme. And while I'm a fan of single points of divergence, if multiple points of divergence help justify your scenario, then this is good. So I agree with this. Additionally, many of the major powers involved at the time of monsters are that monsters, not just going to use these men. Yeah, be missed opportunity and tasteless. So, like, no whitewashing. That's good. To not be addressed through events, it could be beneficial to portray the evil of these regimes, the bureaucratic. Yeah, good. I like that. We've already talked about the timeline and lore, so you guys can take a look at that. It's like probably a more streamlined version of the one that they showed in the lore review, and you can check this out if you go to the mod GDD submissions and look at Clashing Eagles. You should be able to see it here if you want to read it for yourself. After World War II, the Tenenbaum Crisis. Yeah, so this is the map of the world. Having a map, even if it's a QBAM, is very important so that people can understand what you're supposed to be doing and why you're supposed to be doing it. It also helps that from a glance, you can see all the visuals that you need in order to, like, get understanding of the world. Like, this France is probably with Europe. There's revolts here. I don't know if South Africa and Britain are aligned. The fact that Russia's divided up is bad. Like, they have to figure that out. These little pimples here in the Reichskommissariat Moscow shows that it's not very stable. all this stuff, all visual aids are really important to help understand conveying what you want your project to be. And they've done a good job with this. Overall game design. There we go. Here, this is the good stuff. Purpose of the Clashing Eagles is desired that we are able to turn the game into a somewhat immersive country management and Cold War simulator off the relatively blank slate of vanilla. So this is a really good statement. So they're already saying like this isn't going to be vanilla like Hearts of Iron 4 where it's a sandbox and you can do whatever you want. The point of this is supposed to be sort of narratively focused, kind of like Culture Creek. Hopefully they learn from the mistakes of Culture Creek, but this is a really good sentence that shows what people are like, what the point is and how we're supposed to get there. So I like this. The narrative, yeah, they're narrative based, should be told through game design and through existing narrative techniques, like our contemporaries. So this like kind of like TNO, right? And here's the good. So here's another thing that they pointed out. Like the core theme is that you're not supposed to whitewash the evil of it. In other words, evil should be portrayed as banal and tedious through the usage of the interactive nature of the source medium. So if you guys have seen my Antlet Ropo is the Soul, the New Order video, I talk about how game design can be used as a art form in the sense that it is beyond just like writing. There are certain things that you can only do in a game, and the only things you can tell through a story through gameplay that helps people understand things more than like a movie would because of the interactive nature of it. And if you're going to have this game design reflects the themes that it's trying to convey with the way that the world works. I really want to make a video about this one day. Like, video games are art, and I will make a very long, exhaustive list of exactly how it happens in games that do it really well. Like 9 persons, 9 people, 9 doors, whatever. What is it? 9 hours, 9 people, 9 doors, 999. Look it up on Steam. Don't play it on novel mode, and do not look up any spoilers. One of the best examples of using gameplay for a narrative that only games can do, ever. So I really recommend that. Hold on. PR. However, the narrative still matters. World War III will not be guaranteed. Should be allowed to happen. Yeah. Regional conflicts and proxy wars being. Yeah. Good. Yes. Good. Okay. Germany continued role in national policies and were able to interfere with American affairs, for instance. Cold Wars ideally should be able to be won through peaceful means. Yes, very good. That's also a lesson learned from Twilight Struggle. The world is in chaotic time after all, so the choices the player and other countries make should have an actual impact. Very good. So you have the economy. So these specific mechanics, these are going to be added on to Hearts of Iron so that it can actually be fleshed out properly, right? So you have the economy. That's good. Laws, also good. Country development. As it affected both your economics and other events, attributes affecting your country's development in certain criteria will rise or lower. Kind of like TFR and TNO do. Yeah. Nuclear development and doctrines. That's good. Yeah, they added uranium as a resource, and they lent us the code for that for Towns and Twilight, so appreciate that a lot. Going over the ideologies is important too, because the amount of ideologies you add determines the scope of your project's graphics. Clashing Eagles will have 11 ideologies, which is a lot, and sub-ideologies. Yeah, okay. These reflect less the government type and more the ideals behind it. So, okay, anarchism, state socialism, democratic socialist, progressive, social liberal, market liberal, conservative, authoritarian democracy, despot, fascism, ultranationalism. So, and ideologies are so hard because if you've already coded them in, then there's no point really changing it. If I could make any suggestions for the way that this works, anarchism being separate from state socialism is good. Democratic socialist being separate from progressivism is good. Market liberal and social liberal, I feel like those could have been put into one and then be sub ideologies. But then again, if you have like a country that can be either social liberal or market liberal, you need them to be separate. So that's fine. The granularity, it's really just a nitpick. But I think just despotism, Saudi Arabia, the way that they've actually explained, yeah, you know what? Never mind. I have no notes about these ideologies. The way that these are represented make a lot of sense, and the examples that they give are really good. On top of ideology and economy type, government forms will reflect the specific nature of your country's governance. This being the ideology of the nation translates to the natural running of the state. Okay, so yeah, mod aesthetic is a work in progress. Roadmap, the roadmap is really good too. Detailing what you guys want to have actually featured in your mod, like what you want to have as your first priority things, is really important. Hold on. Just had to text my wife. Great, so that's Clashing Eagles. Thanks for that. And if people are wondering what this stream is, I am literally just looking at Google Docies, and I'm going to be giving comments on what I think the mod as detailed in the Google Docie, what it can do better, what it is good at, and so on. I talked a lot about how Scourge of Prometheus looks really good, their design document's really good, and Clashing Eagles is pretty good as well. So we're getting into more of like as priority of when they were submitted. So some of these I'll have to look at them pretty quickly. Yeah, Democratic Germany, World War II. Fascist Britain, World War II. Genre, hybrid of narrative and sandbox. Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure how they'll do that. It's a mod idea. Yeah, okay, good enough. Loredad VTuber avatar. Yeah, you know what? I might actually have to invest in that, so I can finally be what I wanted to be. Sign up with HoloLive or something. I do not want to work for HoloLive. Sorry. I'm showing my power level here. Okay, Gustav Stresemann lived longer, helping to stabilize Germany in front of Hitler. Interesting. That's good. So Britain suffers more in the Great Depression, so they go fascist. Trying to find a way to change how Britain goes fascist, so the important divergence, but it's hard. Okay. If I had to suggest anything, I think that not having Hitler already helps improve Mussolini's chances in Britain by a long shot, because a lot of people would look at Nazism and be like, that's weird. But then early British fascist movements like Rotha, is that woman who made the British Fascisti? Like, that could be a lot more popular. And if you just like have King Edward decide to stick around, you could have the King's Party. They wouldn't be like Mussolini fascism, but they would be right wing and not like democracy. So you could go down that route if you wanted to. Which mod is this? This is the Rooster and the Eagle. It's just an idea right now. Gustav Stresemann was okay. I will have to be pretty quick with this. Living longer, radicalism, yeah. Hold on. The Anglo-Italian alliance would sort out its differences in the Mediterranean. Yeah, okay. So the King's Party thing happens in 1936 or later. So if you're trying to focus on narrative, it would be a really rapid shift for them to suddenly be working together like that. But another thing you could do is you could have Mussolini. You could have what's his face, Mosley's new party, which was formed out of the Labour Party, I think, of like third positionism, becoming prime minister and then having positive relations with Italy. That's possible and it could work. What we got here? Yugoslavia, Croatian politician, insurrection levels, government would respond harshly. The dictatorship, the Yugoslavian monarchy would collapse, leading to a communist regime taking shape. Interesting. I would think that there'd be a little more reaction from neighboring powers, especially if one of the inciting incidents was the assassination of a Croatian national. So maybe you consider that being a little different, but I think that having a Yugoslavian communist state could be interesting. Expansion of communism would not stop there. Greece would also fall. Okay, interesting. I like that. Bulgaria would fall communism. Okay, okay, there you go. So everyone's falling communism. You know what? Having a communist Balkans makes sense. It would also embolden Italy, and it would make things pretty dynamic. So that's pretty cool. Soviet influence in the Balkans, of course, and the Italians and British would focus on the Soviets, from the France and Germany, attempting to influence Turkey. This dynamic is pretty interesting. I can see why you want to make this into a mod. Anti-Soviet by Britain, Asia, Anglo-Japanese alliance. Maybe. The problem with the Anglo-Japanese alliance is that it was like defeated like a decade before because of the way that the USA was trying to isolate Britain. And if you have them doubling down on that, then that means that the USA could fight Britain. So, but maybe that's what you want anyway. Yeah, aligning with Germany and France to keep authoritarianism at bay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I'm not going to look too much more into this, but the way that you've laid this out, this is pretty good. It's a pretty early draft, so of course keep that in mind, but I recommend people check this out and talk about it in the Mod GDD forum. So yeah, thank you for your submission. Dawn of Liberty, this icon is good. The 13 pages is a lot. I really want to do all these justice, but we have a lot more to go through, so I'll try to be quick. So the scenario itself is a Dawn of Liberty made by this revival. Okay, we like reviving dead mods. While progress is slow, it's being developed. Okay, it's a conversion mod taking place in a stagnant world. Old empires of Europe last in the 20th centuries. And the principles of republicanism and public sovereignty never took hold. Okay, 10 years of the Great War, the British Empire to the Bourbons was like a Franco-Spanish Union. Interesting. The people of England persevered ideology that had been fought for the ill-fated democracy. Ooh, okay, so Britain's finally the only democracy. Interesting. Historical plausibility is mostly disregarded. Okay, good. It's good that you specify that. Is less focused on being a plausible alternate history, more focused on interesting fleshed out scenario. I don't prefer these mods, but by specifying that you're doing that, you're already causing a common pitfall of these mods to be immediately dispelled, because then your mod gets popular, but then realism people come over and then they tell you that everything is wrong because they are a historian or whatever, and then everything you made is false. But if you're already establishing that you're not trying to be realistic, then you don't need to listen to their feedback. So like you're good. Like you definitely do it this way. Oh hey Indy. Maybe not in this stream, but I would be interested in looking in that if you want. We can talk about it. Many aspects of the timeline not fully cemented. Yeah. So the timeline is really important, but we're not looking specifically at the timeline, right? Okay, look at this map. This is really interesting. So, okay, I'm just processing this. HRE. Oh yeah, I guess the HRE would still exist. Okay, North America means a playground for the European powers. New Spain, new viceroyalty of Nootka. Yeah, that's interesting. Centuries-long Spanish dominion of the Americas. French departments and new French. Oh yeah, these are French. New France and Louisiana. Okay, one thing I would say, New France was also Louisiana. The entire point of the New French and the way that they were colonizing is they were using the Louisiana network and the Great Lakes network and the St. Lawrence River to connect their colonies. They would have obviously colonized this part if the British hadn't already gotten to it, and they would have taken stuff like that away from the British that they won in the Spanish Succession War. So you could, like, for the sake of having them be separate for like administrative purposes, that makes sense. but don't call it New France and then Louisiana. I would call this Canada, because the etymology of Canada, like the reason why Canada was picked as a name for the Dominion, it was a French name. Like that's what the Quebecois called themselves. The French Canadians called themselves Canadian, and then when the British took it over and they're like, we need to have autonomy here, they called it Canada. Canada is a French term, so that's Canada, Canadien, or whatever it's said in French, and Louisiane. Like those two would be that. I appreciate that you have the French Great Lakes here, because that was something that they controlled. Detroit was a French-founded city after all, so that's good. Alaska is far-flung symbolic represent. Yeah, this is really, I really like this. The Kingdom of Columbia. There you go. That's cool. So is that like a Hamiltonian sort of America there? But it's a little odd. But then again, the theme of the scenario being not realistic and having a focus on like democracy starting here and then having everywhere else react, I think that's a good start. Kind of Human. There you are. So this is the Dawn of Liberty developer. What are Canada, US? Hold on. Sorry. North America, South America, Spain. So this like regional. I'm not going to go through everything just because there's so many other things I need to go through. Okay. For some reason, documents are like graying themselves out on my tabs here. I'm not going to be able to go through everything, but I will say that if anybody wants to learn from this game design document, having a paragraph for each region is all you really need, right? Like that's really good. Asia, Europe, yeah, good. Mod structure. Okay, this is important. So slow buildup of Republican fervor across Europe and the world at large. England and Lusitania support and incite revolutions across Europe, notably in the Nordics, Netherlands, and Southern Italy. Okay, cool. And then this becomes the front of the World War. Smart. Second World War, sparked by disputes of the Kingdom of France and the Holy Roman Empire. Interesting. Reactionaries fighting each other is always nice. The Bremen Balkan and the Austro-Russia alliance go against each other and ultimately the Republicans then invade when they're unprepared. The monarchies have to make peace with one another and respond. That will be a little hard to code, but the vision here is cool, and the way that it's like, let's not worry about realism. Instead, let's make it so there's an interesting geopolitical dynamic that allows for fun gameplay. That's what Hoi 4 mods should be. If you're to show this to me as like a realistic timeline, I would pick it apart to pieces, but you're not. This is a Hoi 4 mod, and you're detailing out what you want the gameplay to be, which is great. So good. That's all really good. So here, Dawn of Liberty, inspirations of mechanics. What is this? If no reason, prestige is a resource that's gained through winning battles. The size of your army. So one thing I would say about things like this, if you're going to add a gameplay element, make sure that it follows through with the gameplay loop of Hearts of Iron 4. And what is the gameplay loop? Well, everything that you do builds up to your nation being capable of waging war, making factories. Civilian is like a later payoff for military factories or other things like infrastructure, forts, things like that. Your ability to manage your political scenario, which is unique to each country and is represented through national focuses and decisions, makes sure that your stability is good enough that you can actually withstand a war. Like if you don't fix the problems of Czechoslovakia before Germany invades, then there are fractures. That's would have happened in our history, and you have decisions to be able to affect that in when you get to play the country. And other things like that. Like those things are really important to keep in mind what the gameplay of Hearts of Iron 4 is before you start adding mechanics. Because if you add like an economy mechanic, and it's like you have your custom economy mechanic, and then it's running parallel to the already established Hearts of Iron 4 one. Why do you have two? And if you have something really fleshed out in your second one, great. Okay, but what about the one, like what's wrong with the Hearts of Iron 4 mechanic that you would need to make a new economy mechanic? You know what I mean? Like keep it simple, stupid is a very good acronym to keep in mind when you're making things like this. You don't need special mechanics to make your Hearts of Iron 4 mod worthwhile. If anything, trying to balance around custom mechanics can make it so that you aren't able to balance your mod at all. So, while I haven't read any of this, a little caveat, I haven't read this. Something I will keep in mind, and I probably will add this in a future video of mine. You do not want to add mechanics for the sake of it. You can add mechanics after you prove the gameplay of your scenario, as long as that gameplay supplements the scenario or helps you achieve your what you're trying to do with the themes of your project more, then you're good. But I would say that you need to keep that in mind for sure. Military mobilization, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, military mobilization. So there's already a Hoi 4 mechanic called mobilization. It's how fast you can convert your like when you change your law, your manpower law, how fast you can start to get those recruits. It is dependent on your mobilization speed. So I like, and then another thing, like I don't want to throw any shade to Culture Creek when they're already suffering so much, but they've been talking about making a world tension mechanic, and it's like they acknowledge at least that there's already a world tension mechanic, but they're just making it so it can achieve what they want it to. Fair enough, but why not just work around the world tension mechanic? Like even Kaiserreich initially dropped the world tension mechanic and they thought it was not useful, but then they brought it back so that they could make sure that the second Well Creek always happened because of the way that world tension worked, right? But yeah. Mod aesthetic. It's always good to have mod aesthetic. Oh, I like this. This matches the like there's no liberalism sort of like old-fashioned stuff. Oh my god, what the heck is this? So cool. What is this? Technology, retrofuturism. Okay, cool. Okay, that's so awesome. If this like technology concept is achieved, that would be so cool. I would love to play a mod like this. It's good to reference Pax Britannica because they really go far with it, with having like walkers and stuff. You don't need to go that far. This stuff though, like having paratroopers with wings, even if it wouldn't work, is like, that's cool. Like, here's the thing. This is really important for everyone to understand. People watch unrealistic fiction and they like it even if it doesn't make sense. Like Star Fox is coming out June 25th. It has R-wings and the way that they fly doesn't make any sense. Nobody cares. Okay? Nobody cares that they don't fly properly, right? It's just for the gameplay. So you could have like paratroopers with helicopter backs and wings. Like why not, right? But the one thing is that if you do make things like this where it just doesn't make sense, it has to all equally not make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like if your internal world's laws and physical, like the magic structure is inconsistent, then people get upset. If the magic system is consistent, then people don't get upset. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, amazing, right? When they started to add more bending techniques in Korra, people were starting to get a little like, what are you doing? Like using blood bending to remove somebody's bending ability, that doesn't make much sense. Lava bending was a little weird too. Metal bending being refined, I don't really have that much of an issue with because Toph invented it and it was crude because it was crude. But then when they study it more, they'd be able to do it more refined, right? Like that stuff is cool, right? And it isn't coherent with their world building, so nobody minds, except for people who are really nitpicky. And even then, it's like, does it make the project any worse? No, then be quiet. Well, I won't listen to the music because I don't want to get any things here. Quotes and phrases. This is also really good too. Like, okay, developer guidelines. Let's look at this. No prominent OTL and alternate history figures. Okay, interesting. No advanced political theory. That's also good. No pointless paths. That's also really good. No favoritism. Yep. No strategic. There, good. That's good. No AI. Yeah, that's also really good. Roadmap is good too. Yeah, this is great. This is really well put together. The aesthetics are good. The honoring of an old mod while still keeping ideas with it is also good. These spirits are really well put together. I really love the aesthetic. Really recommend Dawn of Liberty. You can check out their post in the mod GDD submission forum. And yeah, definitely check it out. This is really well put together. But maybe make it so that you don't have suggestions on, because people might suggest some crude things. So this is The Birth of an Empire. 1848 revolutions are in full swing. Germany united under the Frankfurt Constitution. Europe reformed but weakened. USA had a revolution too. James Brown started the Civil War earlier. Okay. Nobody wins. Interesting. The world's in new shape after a long list of events. It's Europe. The German-British-Italian alliance fights the rest of the world in Europe. USA invades Canada, starts the Second American Civil War, but declaring war in the CSA. The Brits are tough, and the border is cemented. Groups in Europe and collapses. Italy in Civil War. German front mutinies collapse, and the Austrian troops enter delay. The British accepted the humiliation, Nelson to heart peace treaty. This man haunts the world in this day. New ideology rises, stating the old revolutions were false and the face of the earth needed to be repainted in the name of equality. Three nations emerged as the torchbearers: the American People's Federation, Brazil, and Italy. So it's like communism a little bit. The World Alliances: the Continental Accord, the United Kingdom, Germany, later Italy, and the Ottomans. The Entente: France, Russia, Netherlands, Austria, later Hungary, Spain, Greece, and Bulgaria. The discourse here. If you guys are interested, you can check it out. Map in 1934. Okay, so another thing. I've seen a lot of mods change the start date, and it's like, do you really need to do that? Like, why do you need to do that? Is it because there's a certain historical thing that you want to have happen differently? But if it's alternate history, then what's the point of having 1934? And then you have to make, like, if you change the start date, you need to completely rework the tech tree. And the tech tree is one of the hardest things to do. I'm lucky that somebody volunteered their time to make an alternate tech tree for Talons and Twilight. And even that has bugs, and we need to fix those. And that the tech is one of the hardest things to do in Hoi 4. So one of my biggest, like, noob trap avoid at all costs thing is have a start date different than 1936. Please keep that in mind. I wouldn't say this I didn't mention this for the last mod that we reviewed, because they already stated that having different tech was one of their main focuses. So they're already going to be reworking the tech tree anyway. But if you're going to have it, like, just make it 1936, I would just recommend that. Yeah, so you can change any time, yeah. I recommend not changing things too much. One thing I will say, this Midwest country would barely exist. It doesn't have any ports. It has no ability to export or import anything. It would be like whoever occupies it first wins, right? Like, maybe everyone's guaranteeing it as a no man's land, and that's an interesting dynamic to play around with. But I would just say that this and this state, the Deseret state, be very hard for them to persist as states. It's kind of like having a Central Asian country still exist when Russia's still there. If you're going like a couple years off of 1936, I would say just bring it to 1936, because like you can have literally everything be the same, and then you just don't have to worry about adjusting the tech tree. If you have 1920s, if it's 1920s, then you're already going to have to rework the tech tree anyway, because the technological advances are not going to be the same as 1936. So that's fine, but just keep in mind that you're going to need to rework an entire tech tree. Or you could take the route of Red Flood, where you don't do anything like that. You just take the tech tree of Hoi 4, and then you take the how many years off your divergences from 1936, and then just add that number to every tech trees research by year, and then you have the same dynamic of like starting off with not many techs to research, and then by 1939 you have to research the second tier of support companies, you have to research the second tier of industry, and the guns get updated, the special forces get updated, and then you're running out of things to research properly in time, stuff like that. Like, just do that. You can do that, but the tech tree is already reworked in TBE. Okay, that's good then. Was the first thing that you changed? No, it wasn't. I wish I probably would have done that, but the way that the mod, like the mod existed before I came and got involved with it, right? Or are you talking to Dr. Frizzo? Never mind. So American People's Federation, yeah. So it makes sense for the new the North to be communist, especially if they lose a CSA war. Brazil weakened. They said and then Brazil in shambles. Republicans rose up. Yeah, town coups, Jacobinists. Yeah. So I like this idea. This is cool. Wow, they still have the Habsburgs. That's interesting. New Mexico, part of Texas. Russia's not really hit the revolution. Okay, interesting. Get defeated in Poland. Russia and Germany signed a peace. Okay. Russian Federation. The Tsar was removed. Okay. Japan. Okay, interesting. Okay. This is lore stuff, and this is all I need a writer for this. If you want to help, I posted the Discord link, I think. Okay, let's look at the guidelines here. So, the general tone of the mod is a social Cold War, with the actual fear of a war that ends all wars. Anyone can be a spy or member of a Jacobin Club. The twist is that the non-existence of atomic weapons. Any nation can fall at any time, putting an end to their nationalistic efforts. The revolution is a giant blob of nations, and their goal is to unite the world. I like that. I can tell that there's a little bit of a presumed bias towards these nations. I would remind you that it is possible for them to lose if it's a game. So you're going to have collapse and fail states for those in mind. Although I'm not making any political statement either way, but I would keep that in mind, that because you're making it into a high form mod, there needs to be that thing mentioned, because there's been so many cases where I've seen mods that just don't consider alternate paths. So yeah. General guidelines. Joining will require activity. Yep. Mods should progress in a pre-made road. Majors and large contributors should get content first. Yeah. Not looking for guys planning to make Albanian content. Yeah. You have to contribute fixes a large project. Yeah. Project is mostly my vision. Okay. In quest of good quality, if you join, you will learn things. I happily accept any newcomer to the team. I'm looking forward to developers who want to learn and make focus trees. Okay. Make as stable code as possible. Focuses Delantino style dynamic trees. Okay. It's more of a fantasy than a historical what-if scenario, but it's not embedded in the more wacky, the better. Okay, it's good that you put that out there. Half sandbox style, because you don't have to pass every ideology. Okay, interesting. So it's kind of like Kaiser rank in that case. That's good. It's good that you specified that. Having a roadmap is also good. That's a lot of ideologies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I guess it's the standard 10. Ideology, flexibilities. Okay. I guess you kind of have to have this stuff. It's interesting having different communist movements based off of like other real historical people, but with a different context. That makes sense. Hello, Pawn. This is good that you specify this. It's good that you have this coded in too. Each country starts with a government type. There's 9 vanilla types. Okay. Just a little extra. It's kind of like having a national spirit, so I don't mind this that much. It's not that difficult to change. And the economic model, that's good. Okay. Capital investment. Oh my god. Okay, this is getting pretty complicated. So opponent, it's a little too late to submit things, but the idea behind this is that it could be a new mod or it could be a old mod. Just needed to have a document for me to review. I can tell, like, if this custom stuff is coded in properly, this could be a really good project. What is this? The value is 20% of the. Whoa, what was this? Prospect for resources. The game's vanilla resource pool is a joke. Okay. Yeah, the decision countering this is there, allowing to expand any resource already on the map once. This decision is heavily under rework because of some of the options are limiting. But this is really cool. I like this because it shows that this developer has gameplay in mind while they're doing this, and it's not just like making things for the sake of it. So this is really good. I'm sorry I'm not giving more feedback here because I have so many more to get through. I really want to try to get through all of them if I can. But I can tell that this is going to be a pretty good project. Wow, especially if this stuff is coded in properly. This is really interesting. Wow, look at all this stuff. I hope that this mod does well, and I hope that this helps bring more potential modders to your project so that this can go through. I wish you guys the best. I like the scientist portrait background being different than the leader. That's really cool. I love that. I can't really answer questions right now, Peter, but if you have a question for me, you can go into my Discord and then submit questions for Loredad. There's a chat for that because I'm busy right now, but I can try to answer it later. So yeah, thank you for your submission. I am going to try to go through the next one's kind of lightning fire, unfortunately, but yeah, so Gates of Babylon. What if World War II ended in a white peace? So I have to preface, I really don't like World War II white peace mods or scenarios in general because of the way that it doesn't understand. It feels like it doesn't have a grip on what the reality of World War II was. And it's like, oh, you just get rid of Hitler and then have whatever the guy running Valkyrie would be, and then he'd do a white peace. The British and the Soviets would not accept a white peace. They just wouldn't. Right? Like, I don't know. So let's give this a fair shake. Okay, interesting. So this was just a story before, but now it's a whole mod. No problem. Thanks for submitting, Dr. Fizzo. Main premise of the mod is the fast and almost unmanageable change of politics. If you don't pay attention in the game, surely a crisis will take over. Okay. Interesting. So this will be a mix of a feel of Victoria 2 and 3 and a regular Hoi 4. So great power will be the players and the AI's responsibility to manage the collapse. The four superpowers of the world, those not being the US, UK, Germany, Japan. Just like these Victoria 3 nations would be able to take one of these four superpowers places and come up superpower themselves. It's a pretty ambitious goal. If you're going to have if you're trying to feature Victoria 3 stuff of the way that a nation can rise above the collapse, that's way better suited for it to be a Victoria 3 mod than a Hearts of Iron 4 mod. If you're going to have a game where there's a World War III, then you should do a Hearts of Iron 4 mod. And I understand that you want to do both, but if you try to do both in either project, you're going to have a bad time. So if I had to give any advice already, just really roughly, you either make World War III guaranteed and keep it in Hoi 4, or you keep World War III not guaranteed and you leave the dynamics of somebody being able to rise up to take the place of the new fourth superpower and make that a Victoria 3 mod instead. That's actually something that I'm going to be suggesting in my Après moi le déluge video, is that the whole thing could be way better Victoria 3 mod than a Hoi 4 mod. But yeah, I would say that. So basic lore, okay, we'll keep that in mind. The Silent White Piece in 14, Rudolf Hess. And his flight to the British Isles. Huh, okay, Germans pushed farther into the USSR. Allies captured Africa. So the Allies captured Africa and they have the ability to go into the soft underbelly of Europe, but they just don't because Hess showed up. I'm not a big fan of this. Both sides continue the war in 40 years. The thing starts in 1964. The four major powers in the Cold War. Wait. Both sides decide to continue the war in 40 years for our 1984 World War III. But the mod starts in 64. So you have 20 years. You have 20 years of build up. Okay, if that's actually what you want to go, do not make this a Hoi 4 mod. Do not, okay? Like I want to peak the audio. Do not make it a Hoi 4 mod if you have 20 years of development. Hoi 4 measures it in hours of a day because you need to micro the units to be able to do the conflict good, right? If you're going to have 20 years for have a build-up before another world war, do it in Victoria 3. It's like, oh, but then I don't know how to do nukes in Victoria 3. Okay, well, the alternative is that you code a Victoria 3 like economic build-up system in Hoi 4 instead of making like decisions in Victoria 3 where you do nukes, or you just disable nukes because then you actually fight a war and it doesn't just end immediately, right? Like Victoria 3 mod, definitely pick Victoria 3. That's what I would say. This is a spheres of influence. That's a lot of sphere influence for Britain. Why is Britain and the USA separate? Crisis is important to the mod, set the story in the borders of World War III. Yeah, it's good. So, Norwegian Unification Front. Okay. Spanish Civil War. Second Spanish Civil War. Okay. Having Portugal in this sphere, and it's like a... well, I guess it's a white piece. I don't know. Red, please do not message me about your maps while I'm doing a stream about something else. I'm in the middle of something. I can't be talking to you about your map. Please, like, I'm not looking at your stuff right now. I'm taking the time of my day to look at all these people that submit their stuff that's relevant to the stream. Please stop messaging about this stuff. Hey, these sorts of videos purely for mod designs or some ideas of zero modding background allowed. So if I do a second stream with this, then yes, you could submit something without any Hoi 4 content at all. Like this doesn't have any Hoi 4 content featured at all, but I'm still reviewing it, right? The merit of what I'm reviewing is the way it's designed and giving suggestions based off of what I'm seeing here. Korean Independence Movement, okay, French Liberation War. Geordises, the UK has a lot of colony independence movements. So because of the way that, yeah, interesting. I don't want to be too hard on this because it's very clearly rough and they've already stated it. But the one thing I will say is that before you go further into this project, I would recommend making this a Victoria 3 mod rather than a Hochstein 4 mod if your focus is to have a nation build-up scenario and then you can make journal entries for all these conflicts that you have in the way that they collapse. Maybe that's not what you want to do and you want to focus on the World War III aspect. That's fine. If that's the case, don't make it a 20 years of build-up. That's insane. Make it 10. Shift all these things to be way shorter, etc., etc. So thank you, Glitched Pixel, and 5actor for your submission. There's no Google Doc here, but I mean, there's no Discord here that I can see. But if you go to Gates of Babylon GDD in the mod GDD submissions form, you can check that out. So thank you for your submission. Burning Eagle Clashes of the Old, an idea of yours. Lore summary. Rather than to end the Russo-Japanese War, the Tsar continued, escalated, failure of the... is there a map here? There. Sorry, I just really need to go fast in this. So it's 1936. Russia is this. They lost stuff. Socialist. Germany. Ireland still in the British. Interesting. Okay, Russia has struggled, but they want to reconquer. Germany, it's the center of the global revolution. UK and Commonwealth will become the main forces keeping the unstable status quo alive. The US is isolationist. More German culturally, for obvious reasons. I don't know why the obvious reason, but that's fine. Has a stronger left, but now is mostly concerned with itself. China, despite massive support from Germany, Russia still faces many struggles to unite. Okay. Japan, rising power, wants to strike China. Okay. France is ideologically hell-bent on getting revenge in Germany, dominates West Eurasia. West Eurasia, interesting. So I guess it's Napoleonic. States between Germany and Russia are still fighting out between each other for land. That's interesting. I guess they would, but that gives them the opportunity. But then if Germany takes in, then France goes in, and then Britain would try to solidify that stable. Question: does have a Discord? I didn't include it. I'm allergic to self-promotion. Is it fine that I put a link to it in the forum? Yeah, you can. If a mod gives you trouble for it, just let them know that I said it was okay. You can post it there for sure. DOL, what was that one again? Sorry, I closed Dawn of Liberty. Yeah, so if you want to check out Dawn of Liberty, you can check out the Discord link that the head developer will be sharing. Okay, interesting. Russian Republic, progressive. Where's the ideologies here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 ideologies is good. It adds depth to each of the main ones. Really good. It helps keep it pretty straightforward too. So that's great. Here's another thing too. Like, if in your mod you have, like, let's say there's a Stalinist communist and a anarchist socialist fighting together against Germany, their ideology being separate categories is detrimental to the design of Hearts of Iron 4. The ideologies itself should rather be considered alignments. They would work together rather than not working together because their ideologies are similar enough. Vanilla Hearts of Iron 4 lacks the ideological depth that you would need in order to have a good scenario sometimes, but it achieves its function really well. So, yeah. Okay. Germany is mostly focused on the Western Front, while Russia's basically messed up internally. Okay. Yeah, more saying the Anthropocene. Interesting. Yeah, that was a really big, the big one, right? SOP. I think SOP might be closer to Twilight of the Anthropocene. So Russia's struggle. Yeah, I already read this part. This is good, giving really straightforward, like, this is what each country should be. This is all you really need for a GDD, just to detail what the idea is behind it, especially detailing the ideologies beforehand. FDR being a leader of isolationism, I guess they should, they'd have a problem with that. Cisleithania Dolphus. Interesting. They don't control much of Cisleithania, but I guess they would still claim that they are. Dutch Socialist Republic. Interesting. Hungarian People's Republic. So you have a communist Hungary without any borders to Germany. Is it because, like, there's a little bit of a plausibility thing, I feel like having them be separate doesn't make too much sense to me. Isn't it white socialism? I don't know what I don't know what you mean. What is this? I would like to avoid treating the Socialist International as a faction as vanilla and mod that Tino done with the commenter, so please suggest a good alternate faction name. Well, the thing is that, like, it's the best example of an international organization meant to advance the workers' revolution. There's not much of a alternative for a different name, I feel. like revolutionary front. Like, ugh, I don't know. It just seems like it would be better to just do the usual international. Second Rand? Oh, okay. That's like Alan Rand. He's a Democrat, non-communist. If he's a Democrat, then it makes more sense. I will literally never touch Latin America. This what a way to end it, right? Yeah. So South America is going to stay the same as is tradition in Hearts of Iron 4 mods. This is an interesting concept. There's. I wish I had more to say. There's not much to detail here. I think that the balance of power makes sense. The dynamic that you're trying to achieve could work pretty well, depending on how the conflicts are designed here. But the idea of having Russia be internally messed up and having to fix itself before intervening, Germany being communist and ready to revisionize all over the place, Hungary being independent, Austria being Austro-fascist and still potentially trying to claim the empire. That's interesting. This is good stuff. Check out Burning Eagle if you want to learn more. Thank you for your submission. Volksreich. It made the snare for the fun of it. First valid alternate history project. The timeline has Shadows of Redfall in it. Okay, interesting. Pods, that's a little bit of an issue here already. I usually go for single point divergence. Is this, this looks like, what is it? Hold on. What is this? Click to add title. Is this, what is this called? Pax Historia? Is this Pax Historia? Okay. Nietzsche schizo settings. What? I'm very confused. I guess it would make more sense if I read this. Russian army, but like the thing is that I'm trying to look at the GDDs rather than the lore of a scenario, so I might need to skip over this one, unfortunately. Here, Government of Imperial Salvation and Imperial Japanese Government. What's the difference between the Imperial Japanese? Kodoha, Toseita. Okay, so there's like is there like a Navy versus Army civil war in Japan? That's interesting. And then Soviets, and that's cool. I like that idea. Communist rising later makes sense. IJN Third Fleet. Northern Defensive Council, neutral American interest. Oh, okay, interesting. So it's like Hokkaido and whatever the northern island is. GDD means Game Design Document, and it's something that every game needs in order to define what it is and help direct a team in order to achieve a certain goal. And I'm trying to take that wisdom of what works in the game design and game development industry and apply it to Hearts of Iron 4 mods, because in many ways they are in and of themselves their own game design, their own games. So Japan Civil War, Beiping Nanjing Axis formed, second Chinese power task, control Wuhan within 180 days. Okay, interesting. So this is an interesting design there. This is pretty rudimentary, and that's fine. I'm not asking for much. I wish I could give more insight into this lore here, but I think that this is a good start. And having a Japanese Civil War, while it's a little unconventional, it's still a pretty interesting thing to have happen. So best of luck with you on your project. 100 Years as a Lion. This is just a concept in mod. Don't have the time for it. Can't do everything myself. Okay, the lore is unfinished. English is not my native language. That's fine. 100 Years a Lion, total conversion Hoi 4 mod, taking Cold War after the Axis won World War II. Okay. Tries to explore the idea of an Italo-German split. 1958, scars World War healing is visible. Europe is mostly in control of the Continental German Alliance. secure their autarky. Most of Asia and Southern Europe are under imperial prosperity sphere. Yeah, okay. What do we got here? How many ideologies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anocracy. 7, 8, 9. Integral nationalism and national. I think those are pretty similar, but overall game design. High for being immersive story-based country management simulator. Tino. So it's a Tino style mod. Okay. Card house. Interesting that has to be the leader. Okay. It says the pyramid system of the way that Germany works. Okay. So Hess is the leader, or the SS coup, or the party takes over and the Führer is less of a prominent role. Himmler becomes the new Führer, but then Wehrmacht make a counter coup and install Göring. It's pretty straightforward. This concept is like good. It sets up the thing pretty early. There's no really radical stuff. Gameplay plot. Okay. Conflicts that happen in the mod. Unlike Mussolini rules until his death. After it, Yugoslavia and Greece fall to civil war. Okay. Castro revolution in Cuba. First neutral. After the Dominican Civil War, he starts to drift towards Germany. What? This is bold. I have a feeling that there are going to be many people who disagree with this. But in a world where American imperialism has only one benefactor, that might need to be the case in order to preserve Cuban communism. So interesting. Vlasov Eastern Expedition. Okay, USA would support Soviet cliques, major war with every superorganism and volunteers into. Examples and before. Aesthetic. My inspiration for mod aesthetics is 60 spy movies. Okay. So based off of the way that people are reacting, you might be able to do this if you just make it so that Castro isn't the guy leading the revolution and make him someone different. But okay, guidelines. Try to be unique to make an interesting path that you either need to search for an unpopular character to make an already cliche leader do something unique. Don't do schizo. Okay, here's something already. There's something that I've been trying to impart on everybody that asks my advice. Do not make things unique for the sake of making them unique, because if you do that, you're already compromising and submitting your creativity to the opinions of other people and what they feel is normal or whatever. You can have a scenario that's the exact same as somebody else, like World War One, Germany wins World War One, but the way that you depict the rest of the world makes it your own creation. So I would push back against this. Don't just make something unique for the sake of it. There's a sentiment of being like, don't just put Huey Long in charge of the USA because everybody does that. Fair enough. But being unique for the sake of it is too much of a burden, I feel. I don't think this is a good guideline. Don't do schizopaths. Yeah, I agree with this one. Try to depict the world neutral. I think that's a good idea too. Don't put AI generated images. That's good. Yeah, I'm not a Luddite. I can see the merits of AI, but if you use it to make everything, you're eliminating the human aspect and the human artistic expression. So I use it to to brainstorm, get ideas. Don't use it for everything. I like to read teasers, but I think he means like events. No, he does mean teasers. Release will have full content for main superpowers. Yeah, and skeleton content. Yeah, like this is important. You don't want to overscope. This is their map. Having a united USSR for the most part is still resisting. I think that's actually a good idea. But having our warlords and artificial stuff, like, I feel like that can be a detriment sometimes. So this is good. Besides the controversial idea for Cuba, and me recommending a different leader just to avoid the controversy, this is an interesting concept, and I hope that people are interested. And best of luck. You reminded me of the fact that one dev I had wanted to make Huey Long the leader of an Acadian revolt in Dawn of Liberty, despite the fact he'd be 19. Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, V for Victory. This is a member of the Lore Pact. Seems like there's a lot of lore here, but we're going to look at ooh, okay, there's a lot of good stuff here. So let's look at this. We'll look at the premise and then look at the game design stuff. The world is set 501 years since the crowning of Henry of France and England, becoming a territorial naval superpower until the 1830s. Well, okay. Dual monarchy, War of the Roses, Oliver Cromwell, so the seeds of republicanism. Yep. 19th century, the failed conspiracy of the communards of the Jacobin Club would only delve France out of a monarchy, and a few years later the rebels were crushed, returning the Angevin king in London to Paris. Last triumphant of the United Kingdom of France and England. 1830, Ibius death knell. Leaders of the revolution, so I guess it's Napoleon, maybe. Across the shores of France, radicalism saved the world. France, the king, crown Wellington's troops and to Flanders. So they used to be united and then they're not. That's interesting. General mechanics. Okay. Development. Mechanic makes sure that your nation's place in the world and its ability to govern itself. The 6 slots: education, economy. So this seems like a typical thing that people have been doing, where they focus on making sure that the nations have like development that you can do to like have societal development. I'm not too against these sort of things as long as it suits the gameplay loop of the mod. There's a lot of lore and I appreciate that, and I will make sure that if people want to look at that they can, but for the sake of keeping, like, I have a lot more to go through, like maybe 10, I'm skipping most of the lore. Purpose of this mechanic is to give player more to consider on the civilian side of their nation and to balance out tags and add a sense of progression for minor nations. Higher development level means greater burden to civilian factories and power. This is interesting. I like this, and I hope that this is executed well, because this looks pretty good. Regional mechanics. So there'll be regional mechanics for certain tags. Simple balance of power mechanics. Yeah, that's good. You don't need to make it too complicated. Game progression starts in 1954. Interesting. UN is said to manage the South into a full list of civilization, Southern troubles. Okay. This is good aesthetic. I like this a lot. By Yuri. Shout out to Yuri. Foci, also by Yuri. This is good aesthetics. That is really impressive. Look at that. Good job, Yuri. Look at that. There's even a PSD to show their work. That's great. I've seen some people complain about it being like vanilla style. It's like, oh my god, who cares? Like, it's a consistent art style. It is good. Like, I like this. Like, if anybody who's just shitting on it for being vanilla style is, I don't agree with that at all. Look at the, wow. I like this mix of like modern and Cold War. This is really good stuff. I think that the aesthetics and the art of this is probably one of the best strengths of V for Victory for sure. I guess I could check the PSD. No, sorry. I have like in progress stuff on my Photoshop right now, and I can't like save it or whatever. I would recommend people download and look at it for yourself. I just can't do it on stream. Sorry. I appreciate that though. Ideologies: communism, socialism, progressivism, despot, fashion, national. Okay. Look at this one. It's super cute. I don't know why I said that. But it's a little silly face. Well, I like this too, where it's like 3 different versions of the same ideology. This is really good. Is that ROM? This is really good aesthetics. This is really great. Yeah, Vanilla Star is hard to pull up, but they managed it, right? Like that's gorgeous. Like seriously, like what's better? Like people say that this isn't hard. My wife was a digital artist for her career, and she would always face people being like, "Oh, it's not realistic enough." What she's mean, it's harder to make something stylized than it is to make it realistic. Because if you just colorize a photo, like if you colorize this, then it's good. But then in this case, you need to match the aesthetic of the way that the glossiness of the skin appears. Like there's just this is way more hard than just making it realistic. So this is really great. I don't know about Social Democratic Bandera. Maybe it is. I don't know for sure. I would recommend that you check out their Discord if you want to learn more about Project V for Victory. I think that this as a game design document is good. I think that the way that it's presented is definitely for the stream, which is fair enough. I think this is pretty well done. I like the features of the art. I think the art's one of the best parts about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys develop your mod. So congratulations on the good work. V for Victory. Death of Nations. What if Teddy Roosevelt won the 1912 presidential election? I'm familiar with this point of divergence. But is he doing it as a third party one? So instead of being beholden to the Republicans, he's running his own platform, which is interesting. Death of Nations. Okay. What is this? So this is short enough, so I'll be able to go through this. Continental instability in Europe, social Western home, empire on the verge of collapse. The UK will need to play a careful tightrope. Okay. There'll be an Irish revolt. Okay, good. There's a Spartacus uprising in Germany. That's interesting. Warplan White. Right. Europe and France, Roosevelt will attempt to regain American forces to assist the Entente from collapse, but they're tired of war. And the SPA, 1920. What's the start date of the model will be November 12th, 1918. This is a bold choice. Let me read this. I can't believe I missed this. The harrowing losses of World War I. Death of the Nation seeks to spotlight the feelings directly post-World War I of many of its survivors. The model showcased the instability post-World War I era, the revolutionary wave that caused the world of socialists, communists, and anarchists seek to use it as the proof they need to radical change the states to... Yeah, this is really brilliant. So I am typically against like having non-1936 scenarios, especially if it's just like a year off in 1936. Like the amount of effort to just add an extra year of time for what? This, if they're looking straight to do this makes a lot of sense. And it's like, oh, well, why isn't this a Victoria 3 mod? Well, the Victoria 3 is about the macro societal changes. If they want to study a world where there's a lot more revolutions happening, then let them, right? Like this is going to be pretty interesting, I think. American collapse. When the SPA wins, okay, 2 rival governments, east of the Mississippi, trying to keep themselves together. Most of the country falls into free fall. So there's a second American Civil War, as expected. Canadian labor revolt. Harsh crackdown in Vancouver early in the year. The labor unrest in Canada has begun to... hold on. Was there a labor... Vancouver general strike? There was. I see. Part of the Canadian labor revolt. Yeah, there was a lot of different ones. The Winnipeg general strike is the one that I'm the most familiar with. I didn't know that there was a Vancouver one, but it makes sense that there would be one. I would recommend mention the Vancouver one and then go into the Winnipeg one. I think the Winnipeg General Strike was one of the largest in North America. I think that would be a good way to have a socialist revolution there. Mexico's Three Heads Revolution. I really like this. This is compelling because it's not something that's been done before, and it's not because it's being schizo or whatever. It's actually an interesting thing. It's like there was a big wave of red unrest everywhere in the world that's just skipped over most of history. But what if it was a little more violent? What if things were a little more on edge? Like, what if instead of the Freikorps putting down the Spartacists right away, they had a little more traction? There's a lot of potential here. And by focusing on the gameplay of like partisan revolutions and volunteers and stuff, like this could be really good. Winnipeg was after start date. Hence something on the dock. Oh, I see. Okay, well, it's good that you have that historical understanding, because I'm not too familiar with this era of history myself. Nation in ruins, America's occupations decimated Mexico's weak economy, Red Basket Revolution rapidly. Okay, interesting. France is already doing a socialist bloc. Yeah, France having a big socialist bloc makes sense. Bieno Rosso, like there's a lot to this. This is really smart. Like it's like, especially when you lay it out like this, and most of the stuff is stuff that happened in history. The amount of stuff of like socialist revolutions that didn't go anywhere in this period of history, it's like, what if they happened a little differently? This is really smart. Like I really think this is a good mod idea. I'm grateful that I get to broadcast this to my audience. Is a interesting idea. Interwar tech tree. Yep, that's good. Good. You already specified that is an important thing to do. One thing I would say is that like interwar from our perspective, I'm sure you've already considered this, but I wouldn't. Again, I don't think this is what you're saying is going to happen. The gameplay should be the socialist revolutions, and then those revolutionary states then fighting with others relatively early on. Nobody should be making a mod where it's like 1918 and then the Second World War happens in 1940, right? Like, if you're going to have all these revolutions happening at some same time, having world tension increase to a higher degree, having reactionary states, you need to put down the revolutions, have that be the main conflict, right? So interwar in the sense that it was interwar for us, but in this case, like there could be a Second World War way earlier, depending on the way that things go. The Magonistas are probably the most deepest history pull in the whole thing, despite it being a very important Mexico Argentine party. Interesting. The new setting ideology is completely replaced with the new ones, committing the same underlying philosophy of base, using the system to figure out how countries align with each other. That's good. Libertarian socialist, right? So you're gonna have to add a socialist there, because there's libertarian, like American libertarians, right? Karl Kautsky. Interesting that it's not Lenin, but I guess that would happen. Okay. Or is Karl Kautsky even somebody who preceded Lenin and was inspired Lenin? World War II is basically how to happen by the mid-1920s. Yeah, okay, good. Smart. Utopian socialists and proto-honest mutualist libertarians here and now. Yeah. This, I guess it's libertarian because it's like American libertarians. That makes sense. Liberal, yeah. Keeping liberal in one thing and not separating out conservatism is interesting, but maybe authoritarian fits that bill. But then also, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm starting to talk about, like, I'm starting to talk myself into having more ideologies, but no, this is a good mix. You have authoritarian who are like, we're only doing reactionary things because we have to, and then reactionary things being like, we need to be reactionary because we need to be reactionary. Liberal being like, democracy is good. Libertarian socialists being like a split from vanguardists and having differing ideas on how the revolution should run. This would actually be important to have the granularness of the way that the scenario is. So this is good. Timeline. I'm gonna have to. Sorry, I have to wait. Is this World War? No. This is just the lore stuff. Okay. Yeah, so you can read the lore if you want, but I'm gonna be looking at game design stuff. Extra lore and design, docs, and maps. So the Chicago government is the Socialist Party of America. Ooh, I almost skipped over there. Southern Defensive Pact. Okay. Washington government. Washington. Or whatever. Chicago aligned governments. Okay. Yeah, like Seattle Commune. That's cool. Western Coalition. Nice. Federal aligned state. Okay. Oh, this is the Washington government. These are federal aligned armies. Federal army cliques. Okay, and then federal aligned states. Okay, so these are like more military focused things. These are states that are. State of Arizona. Arizona being separate is interesting. Deseret being. I'm not too certain about this from a historical perspective, but I don't think it's wrong. I think this is pretty interesting stuff. But isn't Deseret here? Isn't this... No, this is Nevada. This is Utah. Sorry. Yeah, this is Deseret. Potential initial American collapse. Yeah. And I'm guessing that the way that the war... Like, the SPA will always win in 1920 so that the American Civil War happens. But maybe... I'm guessing... this is a question for you, head developer. Is the strength of the SPA... Does that determine amount of states controlled by the SPA when the Civil War happens? Or does it affect the amount of armies that they have? Sub-ideologies is where the all cool specific stuff is. I agree with that. Something that I tried to make sure happened in AOTR when I was involved in it is that ideologies were instead defined as alignment. And you could have a state that has a government that doesn't really align with the primary nation's alignment, but it would still be an aligned state with like Russia or Britain because of their geopolitical situation. State of Arizona is separate because the government was a known industrial workers of the world sympathizer, but he's bordered by the huge American-Mexican army, and it's kind of 50-50. Okay, interesting. The little wild card, I like that. Then you could have like the SPA if they decide to go straight in. They could like link up with Arizona and then shift things around. That could be cool. Yeah, this is really great. Thank you for your submission, Deathly Nations. I think this is a really good idea. I'm looking forward to having I watched your career with great interest, basically. SBA strength dictates states and yeah, right. Where they abandon Washington or to take over California or Texas. Okay, yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, if you can code that in and all that stuff, that would be really great. And then having a bunch of other socialist revolutions of the world at the same time. This could be a really interesting timeline, and I appreciate you submitting this. So thank you very much. You might make it now then? Yeah, well, yeah, if you do, feel just ask the mods for permission, but you might be able to post your Discord link in the forum. But yeah, thank you very much. Okay, how many do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we're gonna have to go pretty quick here. World Gone Mad. If I wanted to make a Hoi 4 mod, I don't know how to code Hoi 4. Oh my god, 24 pages. Whoa. Holy crap. That's a crazy thing. Like, if you wrote this much, like, it's not that hard to code this stuff in, you know? Like, this could be, you've already done this by now. Oh my god. There's a lot. Like, dude just, like, coded a Hoi 4 mod without coding a Hoi 4 mod. Electrism? What? This is crazy. World Gone Mad is very much it. Completely fractured United States by 1936. Map is good quality. Wow. Okay. I don't have much to say here because there's not much stuff besides just lore, ideologies, and starting nations. So thank you for submission, but I will need to move forward from here, unfortunately. What if the Roman Empire won World War One? Okay. Godspeed. Europe isn't the central of the world. What? World War I is the Grand Alliance, Burgundy, Lusitania, Holy Roman Empire miners, and Rome against the signatures of the Treaty of Prague, Britain, Italy, Sweden, Poland, Hungary, Lithuania, Hungary. Okay. Holy Roman Empire states in Bohemia. The war in 1914 stopped John from becoming Holy Roman Emperor. John was already king of Burgundy. Okay. Set to a globe-spanning conflict where multiple nations, including China, Native American states, and the Caliphate. Oh my God, what is going on? There's so much lore that I just do not get. Oh man. Okay. Is there a map that I can look at? There. Okay. What is this? This is crazy. That's huge. That's Lithuania? Oh my God. Look at how big that Lithuania is. Yeah, these last ones cranked up the insanity a tad. Yeah, I agree. I don't have any access to good map. Use a Hawaii Farm map chart. You can't see Florida. It's still there. Okay. Yeah, so there's like a blue Florida color there. Write a novel at this point. Yes, so maybe there should be like a should have been a novel award. I don't know about this though, because it could be interesting Hoi 4 mod, but United Kingdoms of Italy, okay. Lusitanian Empire, Brazil to Mexico. Okay, so alternate. Oh my God, this is insane. Yeah, I will say this could be very interesting. I don't have the time to go into the lore. Having a big caliphate is interesting. Rome, I guess Eastern Rome is the victor then. Okay. Best of luck to you on this. I can't give much feedback without having to read everything, and then I'll miss out on all these other GTDs. So thank you for your submission. Fire and Ash. The Spanish fleet mutated towards through the world once again. This time nicknamed the Purple Plague. Its wake of radicalism, chaos, and war followed. The emperors of the world, weakened by plague and war, broke to pieces. American dictatorship seizes its chance and achieves its manifest destiny. Oh, and they only have the vaccine. Okay. We're not aiming for historical realism. States, ideologies, political paths, not meant to be. Yeah, okay, good. Masterpiece history, sleuth of the cracks. Do not worry, this means that there's more to discover. Okay. That is that actually the? Is it always going to be that purple? Oh my God. That is. Is there actually going to be a purple filter over everything? Whoa. That's crazy. Ideology map might be under development. Okay. Second American Order. That's an interesting name. You know what? I appreciate the boldness. I appreciate the boldness of having the purple filter, especially if there's the purple plague or whatever. Like, you know what? Like, F it, we ball, right? Like, you know what? Like, yeah, F it, purple. Holy shit, this looks cool. Yeah, like this is. I'm still processing it. The boldness is something that I really respect. It's good that you put it in the front. It's like, we're not being realistic. Good. Okay. And then having, oh man, it's so crazy having a big America like that only has the way that would prevent the world from further dying to the plague. Like, that's interesting. I'm sure there could be like a sub mod where people can turn off the purpleness, but I like the aesthetic a lot. He leaves me cold. Okay. Yeah, and then things are falling apart. This is really interesting. Arnold lease is unfortunate. Needs changed to ride too slowly. Oh, really? That's cool. British Bulldog. Good lore, good lore. Somewhat of a timeline. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to read the lore. Fun facts I remembered while watching the stream. Okay. So you got a live edit on the document. Okay, cool. Hitler's a liberal Democrat in Switzerland. Ugh. Okay. There are currently 2 semi-canon time travelers from the modern era. Whoa. One of the original devs is in prison right now, probably? What is going? That's crazy. Okay. I won't ask, I guess. Anti-Plague focus screen icons will be inspired by Plague Inc. It's the mod's birthday sometime soon. Happy belated. One of the first 2 planned playable starter countries in the Sultanate of Sokoto. I really appreciate this boldness. The Galician Iberian King is a planned mechanic gathering special media. I don't like that. I'm moving on. Lys Rouge. A map of Europe. The rest of the world isn't on progress. Yeah, that's interesting. Like a communist, socialist Western Empire. That's cool. I like that. Lys Rouge is an alternate history mod constant to Hearthstone 4 centered around the world, but the Paris Commune survived. Okay, cool. What if Nasser got good quality copper? Yeah, that's a good one. Europe is divided between communists, national syndicalists, liberals. Okay, interesting. Unfortunately, we're skipping the timeline, even though you'll have to have a good timeline established for this. Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry about that. Okay, what we got? Socialist power in Europe, internal politics are okay. Radical communists, SFIC. Okay. What was the map again? It's like, so Italy, they have their own internal politics, but they're communist. I like this Germany shape. It's a little weird having these states be separate when they're bordering France. This is, yeah. I can tell that there's a lot of interesting dynamics with this world. Okay. Mechanics. Okay. There's government types. So the government type. What would the government type being different benefit the game, right? Like, it's good extra flavor, but what would it provide? Ideologies, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, I probably try to push it down a little bit, but yeah, what do we got here? Autocracy, yeah, so guidelines. Okay, this is good stuff. Complexity is only valuable if it creates readable and meaningful choices. Readable, like you can understand what it is. Every major ideology must have a distinct identity, not just a variation of another. Okay. The main conflict should come from internal tensions within systems. Okay. Events should create chain reactions. Yeah. Mechanics should be constantly generating instability and evolution. Yeah, I like that. But then again, having a solved state before you then start engaging in World War II is important, because if you're trying to manage an economy while also microing divisions, I would say that like you should be penalized for not stabilizing your state in time for World War II. That's good, but also like the way that the Germany card game happens in Kaiserreich, like you have all that overwhelming stuff before the Second World War starts, and then after the Second World War starts, there's no big flavor events, there's no instability things, it's just micro your divisions, right? They have the overwhelming stuff in the beginning, and then you lock in to do the gameplay. So I would push back on this a little bit. Political aesthetics, posters, propaganda symbols, and reinforced gameplay. Fun takes over party, strict realism. Yeah. Experimental and scrapped ideas. Okay. So Cyan, if you guys want to look at that purple Discord, that purple mods Discord, you can check it out. I'm not a particular fan of the planned content for that Spanish king thing. That's disturbing to me, so I'm not going to be publicly supporting it. If you guys want to look at it, you can, but what we got here? Fully unified socialist Europe. Fragmented socialist Europe, or the unified one. Yeah, I make that a gameplay element. That makes sense. I like that idea. Okay, straightforward. Revolution in Europe, the rest of the world. What happens after socialism wins? Instead of a world debating whether socialism should exist, becomes a world where everyone claims to represent the true future. Yeah, I like leftist infighting. That's good. That's interesting. Social credit, national syndicalism, blends soil socialism. Combines agrarianism, national identity, rural revivalism, local communities, social structure. So yeah, interesting. It's like their position. Trotsky in France. Interesting. Trotsky could become the central figure of Western European socialism, effectively act as the ideological political leader of Western Unified Bloc. I understand the vision behind that. That makes sense. We actually moved away from this direction. Unified Europe of this kind, the political centralized. Trotsky no longer serves as the leader. He functions as an influential ideological force. Yeah, that makes sense. Iberian Civil War. Is it because it's a socialist? Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. I like this idea. Les Rouges is a good name. The dynamics of this is really good. Yeah. Iberian Civil War, having like a socialist and having like they win but then they struggle after, I think that's an interesting dynamic, and it's a unique aspect that hasn't been really looked at before. I know that in Kaiserreich there's been talks about it where like the Third International, once they win, all the different ideological strains of syndicalism that make up the Third International would break into their own blocks, and I think that is something you could have happen here. But yeah, this is good stuff. Yeah, definitely check out Les Rouges. The head developer is Adri11. You can message them on Discord, and you can find their doc in the game design document thing. Technicolor Nightmare, World Building Project by your boss. If this is a lore document, I can't really give too much input, but I will look at the maps because I like maps. Okay, so we have a USA with all the states divided. Interesting. Dev territory. Okay. Interesting. Got here. Unfinished ideology map. Google Sheet their ideologies. Yeah, dev territory is it's an interesting background. I like the aesthetic of this. Sole Coder working on implementing each country as a starting leader in basic localization, succeeded in adding leaders and setting up ideological plans. Documents a lot of people ask questions and having answer. Daydream in Black? So is this like a successor to Daydream in Black? Because I've heard a lot about like people talking about Daydream in Black. I don't know anything about it. 12 ideologies, that's a lot. I would recommend. Why is there two Occidental despotisms? Or Oriental and Occidental. That's interesting. Revolutionary right. Unclassifiable. That's interesting. Thank you for the donation, Sandclaw. And yeah, it's okay. I just personally, it's hard for me because I have kids. So jokes about that stuff are really upsetting to me. But let's just move on from it. Why does it keep saying I'm signed in or something? What we got going on here? Persia and Mesopotamia, Indonesia, Kalimantan, Taiping Rebellion. This is pretty interesting. I'll see if I can read. So, inspiration project came from a canceled Daydream in Black. Yeah. Working to reduce the influence thanks to the infamy of certain developers. Yeah. Personal hi-fi mod, serious tone. Okay. Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to look your own like lore grave of a Daydream in Black. I like that idea. Okay, Manchuria, Vladimir Lenin, 1840. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you got it right, Emeritus. A lot of this is kind of hard to process because like this is a good document and it details everything, but I'm not able to really read it in order. So if you guys like Daydream in Black, Your Boss 4704 is making it interesting. Daydream in Black, I think Daydream in Black is canceled and for reasons, and then Technical Nightmare is trying to take inspiration from that. So if you want to check out, you can message Your Boss 4704. You can talk to them about their project in the GGD Discord, which should be in the description of this video. East of the Rhine GGD. East of the Rhine total conversion mods in 2063 from the EOTR lore. I don't know what EOTR is. Set in a world where everything went perfect for post-Soviet and post-democracy Russia up until after the Third World War. To break the only pod world or united theme of making everything perfect for Russia gives the perfect cohesion. Yeah, so like, while this is kind of a yucky timeline for me too, I do agree with this idea. I prefer single points of divergence because it keeps things coherent. And there is still problems with the make everything right go right for one country thing from a perspective of keeping up lore for everywhere else in the world. This is still a decent enough, straightforward, pinpointed, focused idea, right? So this is pretty good. This is a good foundation to use for a mod. Collapse of 52. Okay. Dystopia. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of lore here. Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. So Russia did really well, but then they collapsed after the collapse of 52. And then because it's a collapse, there's a bunch of regional problems and conflicts, which, hey, guess what? That causes gameplay in Hearts of Iron 4 mod. Can you believe it? Yeah, USA annexing Canada is a little bit of a sad time for me. But in New England being separate, I'm guessing that's a new Africa tag. Texas being independent, that's also interesting. Yeah, you know, like, I appreciate ideas like this where it's a very interesting dynamic world. Oh, what is this? Okay, hold on. EHR's World War IV set up 1v1s between the great powers. which eventually just merged together. So there's Russia, People's Republic of Europe, Brazil, Grand Colombia, United States of America, China, India, Iran, the East African Federation, and the Sahel Federation. Interesting. The main rivalries that may eventually escalate into World War is this. The start and balance of each war greatly intervened. So there's like civil wars, I guess, that influence things. Right. This is really interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for the donations. You really don't have to do that. I appreciate it though. Europe, socialist Europe is interesting. Yeah, Red Europe instant peak. Yeah. USA being so weirdly formed is interesting. You know what? Like this is cool. There's so much time that's passed since like our modern era that really makes it so you can do anything you want, right? Like all this stuff. It's very interesting. You may notice the two world powers don't have specific rivalries, being the US and Iran. They're wild card. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good point. So there's Europe and Sahel, I think. And then Europe and Russia. Yeah. And Russia and China. China and India. Eastern. Okay, that's interesting. This is really, I really like this. This is really cool. European tug of war. There's a lot of really good stuff here. I really recommend you guys check out this game design thing. Energy production. Yeah, if you're going to have a mod set in 2060, you'll need to have mechanics like, oh my, what the heck is this? What is this? Is that like a... Is this like... I don't know what this is, but that was cool. Bug. Fast setting alloys. Yeah, this is cool. I think this would be pretty fun to do. A European Union. I like what this implies. If the scripted UI actually manages to work out pretty well here, then that's really good. Are the sea levels higher? Is that why there's a little bits of borders of being different? If so, that's really cool. I like that part. Hellenic Empire. I don't like the Golden Dawn, but I guess it makes sense that would be a thing. I like this text and the way that it sets up. It's pretty good. Yeah, I really like this one. At first I was a little scared of like it being like a Russia epic timeline like TFR or whatever. But the way that this is laid out, the way that the divergence is established, and the reason why it exists the way it does, leads to an interesting world full of interesting conflicts, like an alternate superpower of the East African Federation, Sahel Federation. This whole dynamic in Latin America. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. So I appreciate the creativity of East of the Rhine. So you can check out East of the Rhine and the game design document submissions for the forum there. So thank you very much for your submission, whoever led this mod. So easy to write modern day alternate history. I had to check under the rocks and decade-old web pages to come up with a god leader for a Russian accelerationist cult. It's interesting. Yeah, it's easier because like modern day, there's so much documentation that you can find over about anything, right? Oh, you already redacted it. I don't know if it was you or automatic thing. Okay, so I saw this. I think that, like even just the name of it. When I saw the name of this, it was in my head for a bit. Orange. Hold on. Orange Invasion. Game design document. Dawn of the Reich. VOOCO. Okay, interesting. So it's like you can tell this is like a Kaiserreich inspired thing with the way that all the map is. A little worried that this is AI generated. Maybe it's not though. Context. Okay. It wasn't my project starting as alternate history mod. Silly portrait country changes characters a pilot Android. Okay. Main premise is that what if the Dutch joined and were the only winner of the World War, and somehow the characters of the Dutch internet pilot... What? Okay, this is interesting. Everyone fears it. Everyone's fearing the return of a conflict and spreading. The Dutch have yet to achieve the continental hegemony. Okay. Republic of Ezo survives. They showed up in 1910. What? Okay. I'm like smiling. This is This is interesting. This is funny. The Dutch would, 4 days after the armistice, betray the Germans. The Germans immediately get backstabbed by the Dutch and immediately fall apart. That's interesting. Okay, what's even happening? Like OC characters from a webcomic come and take over, and then the Dutch win World War One and just obliterate Germany by looking at them. You know what? Like, from a perspective of like realism, plausibility, single point of divergence, throw that all out of the window. And you know, I usually am not a fan of these mods or these concepts generally, but when you have it laid out in a document like this, it's all clear and it's all good to go, right? So you have that. The pod is in the 1600s. That's crazy. Yeah, especially if it's the Republic of Azo. Yeah. Oh my god. Ugh, that's crazy. Okay. My brain is like melting. What is that? Comic Sans? Oh, it's the pilot. This is it's like regular person and the comic editions. Is that the Dutch controlling the south of? Wow. Wallonian junta. Why is Friesland a thing if they won World War One? It's not Comic Sans, but it does give me that vibe. The Dutch, while winning the Great War through the revolts and political crisis, the mere mean the independence of Belgium and Friesland. So they did take all that, but then they lost it. Okay. Mermy's determined to be elected again. The Frisian would need to decide setting integration or fighting for liberty. Belgians have to fight the inevitable. Apprenticement is funny and creative. Yeah, I can tell it's pretty creative. Yeah. The timeline is in the document. You can look at it. But Cromwellian Dream Republic. Okay, this is whoa. I'm my brain is melting. While winning the Great War, France and the UK claimed their territories. France starts as a desperate state. Okay. Britain's abdication crisis. Guy behind the world gone mad. Should probably explain what's going on with it. The whole point was Red Flood with a different exceptionalist main power. Okay, interesting. Russia and East Germany. Yeah, Frankfurt junta. The font is so crazy. I actually like it. It's funny. Germany fell to the communists, and then the cat put a civil war. But then they managed to take the League of Nations. The League of Nations is like, you know what? I don't care. Let there be 3 Germanys, and let the Czechs annex Silesia. This is crazy. This is even crazier than A World Gone Mad. Social Italian. Is that even Rome? Do they not own Rome? The Papal States don't own Rome. Okay. Ostland. What is going on here? Oh. The Baltic state of Ostland. So is it like a German dominant? Baltics just lands where? Oh. Oh, yuck. I don't like it. I don't like it. But it's still so bold and compelling. Oh, this is Poland. Yeah, Poland annex Ostland. Just is anything but German domination over the Baltics. At least you have a claim to Lithuania and Belarus. The other people can cope. Well, I guess you have a claim to Latvia too. Yeah, Poland annex Ostland, please. Please. Ukraine has to deal with various groups in the countries, being the Bolsheviks, anarchists, nationalists. How many mods? This one and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I wanted to move quickly past this one, but this is so interesting that, oh my god. Look at Russia. Siberian Red Army, Union of Novosibirsk. Yeah, I like how the colors indicate ideological alignment. Yeah, so on level collapse and world. I need to play that mod still. But yeah, this is really this is really great. You need to break up all these majors in order for the Dutch to have a stance, a chance. Oh, oh no! What is this? Oh my god. Yeah, even New York was once New Amsterdam. Oh my god. Just take the 13 colonies. You just call it New Netherlands. Okay. And look, they have all these islands in the Caribbean too. Loredad impressed. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I'm like the plausible alternate history guy, and then somebody strolls into the Discord, and then flops a big Google Doc on the floor and is like, "Look at this Dutch wins World War One timeline that I made." So the Dutch can't hold on to Friesland, but they can hold on to Eastern America just fine. Oh my god. The USA had to give a big chunk. They would eventually establish it in the Netherlands as New Amsterdam. Yeah, New York was once New Amsterdam. It's always been Dutch. Yeah. They have to keep the brokers and corporate CEOs happy. So look at the Dutch East. Call it the Dutch East American Company. DEAC, like that. And then have Roosevelt completely embracing his Dutch past. Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate the boldness of this, and like just the fracturing of everything. Oh man, that's crazy. That's really crazy. But here's the server link. Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting timeline if they can just F it we ball and put a bunch of stuff into a game. This could be a really great mod. So shout out to Orange Invasion. Very interesting timeline. Bring them back. GDD. What if deindustrialization failed in what? So it starts in 2000. USA is more protectionist and isolationist by year 2000. It's still the leading manufacturer of consumer goods. It's also a member of NATO, only on paper, and withdrew most of its European bases. So this is like, instead of the American companies moving to China to produce stuff, they stayed in America. Okay. This one's pretty short, so we can go through it pretty straight. Latin American organization, military regime stop being tolerated. Democratization takes hold. Okay. The USSR survives, and August coup never happens. The new Union Treaty is ratified. Okay, I like this. It's like a successful modernization of the USSR. Could be good. NATO and the European Commission are basically merged and are close together, becoming a federation. UK never joins. Rotterdam is the World Financial Center. Interesting. Yugoslavia survives as a confederation, and Bulgaria joins. That's also very interesting. Nihilism fails in the UK, and a republic is established. It's going to be removed. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Deng is removed. Maoist economic policy is restored. Okay, I guess that would explain why American industry is still in America. Ultra-Orthodox Jews take over in Israel. I was a little thrown off by Asia, but it technically is in Asia, right? Yeah. Saudi Arabia has a civil war. After the world becomes less reliant on oil. Okay. Africa is more exploited by neocolonialism for modern electronics. That's unfortunate. Apartheid survived EU. That's unfortunate. Economy system, consumer goods, resources traded. Interesting. It could be good if that is solidified, but if you're going to be doing that, you might want to consider making a Victoria 3 mod instead. Conflicts of game start. Saudi civil war, Turkestan-China conflict. I approve of those because I have one in those in Towns and Twilight. Country past USA primary social democratic conventionalists. Continue the New Deal. Okay. Continue. Like restore the New Deal. neoliberal reaction to status quo, but channels considered. This is interesting. Not much to comment on here. If you wanted to join the conversation, you can check out their submission, the Discord forum. Germania, new era GDD. Okay. Cliche, what during World War II. Wanted to make my own visual novel. Okay, well, I'm not finished. My aspirations are quite achievable from a mod developer in the high-scoring community. This mod focuses on journey-winning World War II, established in Germania. Plans to use the base game assets for the mod until I can find a reliable way of creating my own assets using this application. The intention behind the mod's design is to challenge typical answers, feature scenarios, and the overarching lack of content, unlike Thousand Week Reich, which has been praised for its massive detail and immense lore. Okay. Germania. From World War II. Okay. So, why visual novel? What do you mean exactly? Like is it a visual novel in Hoi 4? So it's kind of like TNO, but then I'm very confused. Inspired for the map. Generic content for Central Asian lands. Thai Civil War. African Brothers War. German reoccupied Africa. Visual credit TWR. Okay. Italy fulfilled its aims in Europe. So like unfortunately I don't really understand what your aim is here. Like, if you're making a YouTube video and find any name mentioned inappropriate or demeaning, please feel free to blur or censor it. Well, I can't blur during a stream, but appreciate that. Okay, what is this? Man, the high classroom. Alternate post-war peace treaties due to Australian, South African, Japanese, and Israeli bloc caused Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottomans to be significantly more crippled. Excuse what? Excuse me? Oh, so they weren't being a visual novel. Okay, maybe I just completely misunderstood it and I'm reaching my limit. We have 3 more to go, though. Let's lock in. Anything not stated in the recap should be assumed to be happening as normal. 4 war blank. Okay, yeah. Oh my lord. This is World War One. You know how many Germans would be living here? Like, Poland might be majority German if they do this. Wineland was made an independent international demilitarized zone. Yeah, I'm aware of that plan. 30 billion. Oh, God. 30 billion German marks and reparations. This isn't a state anymore, you guys. Like, what? What? Okay. Yeah, South. Okay. The rest of German colonies are turning to mandates and administered by South Africa. Why is South Africa being... Oh, he's tired of visual novels. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, but then why not just work on TWR? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Best of luck to them. Austria, Hungary, and the rest of the Balkans. The Czech corridor is crazy. Kingdom of the United Kingdom of the Balkans. Okay, makes sense. Creation successor states in the sole exception being the Czechoslovakia, which has the Czech corridor. Okay. The Republic of Austria and the Kingdom of Hungary must pay 15 billion German. Okay, anybody who has to pay that amount, like, there isn't enough people in the world, you know, like there's not enough money in the world at the time. Like, the billion, just remove the billion, just say war reparations. The number doesn't matter. I know why they said Israeli, because look, this is Israel. Constantinople Free City, independent Armenian Republic, which controls Baku. No, that's this Armenia. Southern Anatolia, administered by the Italians. Central Kurdistan, administered by the French. East Kurdistan, administered by... Is that East Kurdistan? It's not... What? Okay. Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan emerged into a new sovereign state called the State of Israel. Oh my god. The rest of the peninsula was given to the Arabian Republic. Okay. Okay, that's okay. This is a super duper important message you should only read if you've read everything else. Yeah, I'm gonna read the point of differences created by a class of high schoolers in Marc Paris Peace Conference. Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. I like this the most, honestly. Like this is a really compelling, silly scenario here. This is ridiculous. This is even more ridiculous. East Kurdistan. Like, but anyway, I appreciate the submission, and I hope you guys had fun with your assignment, and thank you for submitting this. This is pretty funny. Nothing will beat the Orange Invasion, though. You can sign into, Google property from another tab. No, whatever. Okay. Handmaid's Tale Hoi format could be interesting. Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale is pretty good, yeah. I don't know too much about the Handmaid's Tale, but it's pretty good. Gilead. USSR pre-Gilead Revolution. So they're basically just taking the lore that Margaret made for her alternate history and then expanding on it for like a single point of divergence thing. That's pretty cool, man. I like this. Hidden variable. I would say that you should have it be a present variable so people can manipulate it. Like if you're playing a game without information, it makes it harder to make strategic decisions. Random countries receive events that downgrade the level of the province. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. Make that an interesting, international problem. I have only two more. If you submitted something after I started streaming, I'm not going to read it. I'm sorry if you were hoping that I would, but I have to do things. I only have a certain amount of time to do this stream, right? So, okay, food supply. I had 2 new buildings that produces and stores food. So you could take the fuel system and make it like a food system instead, and then just disregard the fuel stuff. That could work. I don't think that it's possible to make another fuel that works exactly like the Hearts of Iron 4 thing did, but you could take that fuel thing and make it instead, and then just have all more advanced stuff not be reliant on fuel at all. That could be good. Silent majority. Okay. Warsaw Pact countries. Iran and Gilead. Yeah. Iran and Gilead. I know that there might have been some inspiration with Iran's regime, but I don't think that Iran and Gilead would be able to get along because of their differing religious ideology. Neutrality. Okay. Neo-fascism. Okay. Environmentalism. Yeah, that's I don't know that much about Handmaid's Tale to really make a good statement on this, but I appreciate what you've done with the world, and I think that having a Hoi4 mod that honors her work, and especially with the unique concept of having a climate change thing you have to manage, could be an interesting twist on Hoi4 gameplay that could make you could have a war over somebody spitting out too much coal or something, right? Like this could be pretty interesting. So if you guys want to support this or join the conversation, definitely check out The Handmaid's Tale here. World Revolution, Legacy of November. If the German Revolution does not come, we are doomed. The German Revolution in 1918 was strangled in its cradle by SPD forces. Yeah, so this is definitely Leninist who's writing this, but that's fine. No harm in that. 2 decades of yeah, and then the Nazism and the Holocaust. Yeah. So the World Revolution asks, what if things went differently? What if the fabled German Revolution succeeded? So this is kind of like, is this like Sparta? Yeah. Okay, this is like Spartacus. Spartacus is a mod that I've been considering making a lore graph on, and I might even look at this for inspiration on how to handle it. So yeah, so the point of divergence, they just shot them down like as soon as they could, really. Meaning to determine the fate of the German Revolution. 2119 vote against the beginning of revolutionary action. For instance, said this theory was proposed November 11th as the final date of the revolution began. Days transpiring. Kiel mutiny began as a response. So there's already people plotting a German communist revolution, but then the Kiel mutiny caused it to not happen right away. Okay. Rather than forming a basis of social state, the SPD used the situation to undermine radicals. Yeah, okay. Herbert would go say the emperor does not abdicate the social revolutions and depend on hate like sin. The end result is the ultimate suppression of radical left. The revolutionary stewards vote to begin immediate action. So that's actually a pretty good point of divergence, because if you do that, then it removes the sort of like impetus that the SPD had to become the leaders of the revolution. And if these socialist revolutionaries take the inspiration of other people who are anti-Germany, anti-empire, they would then be able to sideline Herbert by default by him not being the person who instigated the revolution. Herbert might be able to join the revolution after, but like this quote says, he doesn't want the social revolution, so maybe he wouldn't even join at all. So then this works. The SPD into the sidelines. Yeah, that makes sense. Declan Army, yeah. There's the OHL, coup. The radical socialists supposed to many. So I don't understand. So the German communists revolt, but then they have control over the state already. Like the OHL wouldn't ever accept a government made by these guys. They would just double down on the empire. There would be no OHL coup. There would be an act of war already. So this is something I don't really get. Maybe I'm missing something. The coup fails. Yeah. So regardless, the whole point is that the communists win. Entente extremely fearful of the revolutionary socialism, especially the Hungarian Revolution already underway. They would see them as the Bolsheviks, to the German isolated, generally very distinct to the Soviet, very seriously. You could argue that the Leninists did as well, considering they had democracy votes in Russia when they didn't before. But then again, you could say that they're just doing it for the sake of it. Who knows? Soviet Union would probably rejoice at the success of the revolution now being fully industrialized partner. Yes, they would. Trotsky would be very happy. You should look up the German October Plan. That was one of the ways that they were trying to industrialize Russia, is by spreading a revolution to Germany. It's like an attempt to get communism in Germany after Rosa Luxemburg had failed. German Revolution, international socialism would be unified instead of old status quo, the Second International. I will read this argument at some point when I do my own Spartacus whatever timeline. I'm not too certain about that though. Entente fears the German Revolution adequate during the Herbert approach. The Entente will quietly help with the radical government in the fall. Moderate German Republic. Okay, no real Versailles Treaty. No, that I feel like that's a mischaracterization of what the Entente would actually do. They would not let this Germany go without a Versailles Treaty. This makes sense, having the Rhineland. Oh my god, they wouldn't let Austria exist, especially with Italy. No, there's a lot of things I would change here. Like, Italy would be, but then it's because you want to have Soviet Hungary still exist, but then why does Czechoslovakia still exist? Why does Poland still exist, right? Like, this, you're talking about a revolution, a complete overturn of capitalism in the country. There's no coups. There's no, okay, you get off without a peace treaty. There's no, like, you annex this country and this country so it exists still. There's none of that. Like, you have a Hungarian communist revolt succeeding. Okay, well then the Soviet supported communist revolt in Moldavia succeeds, or that causes a conflict. They invade here. Hungary invades here. Czechoslovakia, the Czechoslovak Legion doesn't connect up with Czechoslovakia. It gets partitioned too. Then you have Austria maybe still being a white movement, but maybe it's red because Red Vienna. Okay, fair enough. But then where do you draw the line, right? And then also too, like the Italian Biennio Rosso, right? Then you have the socialist revolt, huge general strike in Italy, failed without leadership. If there's a communist Germany that annexed Austria, that's bordering Italy, that does not have a peace treaty with the Entente. There's also no war reparations that the Entente are enforcing. Like, the Entente would suppress the absolute SHIT out of this as soon as they could. If there's a revolution like this in the way that it's being depicted, in the way that it succeeded, there would only be two outcomes. The British and French reimposing a Republican German government and suppressing the communist revolution in Germany, or the entirety of Europe falls to communism. If it falls to communism, it could be that there's actually a union of USSR that unites Europe, but then maybe Rosa Luxemburg and co. don't like Lenin's vision, and then there's a leftist infighting thing. That could be interesting. In fact, I'm even talking myself into my own perspective on how I could do the Spartacist timeline, while respecting the communist whatever of it, while also making it an interesting 1936 scenario. I appreciate your submission. I think that it's bold and it makes sense in some ways, but there's a bunch of other things here that don't make sense, right? Like, the Entente allowing, thinking about it, you have literally like the heads of, like, let me put on my communist lingo hat for a second. You have the largest imperialist powers that were attempting to impose their imperialism onto Germany through the Treaty of Versailles, that even Lenin was like, this is one of the worst demonstrations of imperialism ever because of how much they've subjugated the German proletariat to foreign capital. You have them still having major colonies, taking all the German colonies, imperializing all of them. You have their economies completely bankrupting themselves trying to put this away. They won't let Germany have any war reparations. They'll let Germany and the Soviet Union have a direct connection. Why does the Soviet Union have the Baltic states under their control if they conceded peace to them early? Maybe the point of divergence prevented that. There's a lot here that I could go into that I don't necessarily really agree with. I think there's a good start here, but I think that the lore is really lacking. But let's talk about the gameplay quickly. It's very Kaiserreich inspired, more narrative focused. Okay, each path takes in connecting with each other. Core loop is liberal democracy, communism, fascism. Yeah. Okay. Project has been something I wanted to do for a long time. It initially started as a simple creative exercise on how the German Revolution could have plausibly succeeded. The idea is since going into a concept of mod and looking for a very time left the users to do so. Hence, if you're reading this document and found the premise and ideas presented interesting, I'm in deep need of other writers who can specialize in individual nations or regions, graphics, artists, and coders. So personally, if I ever need to make a lore grave on Spartacus, Legacy, the World and Revolution, I'll definitely pick your brain about how you came to the conclusions about how the communist revolt would succeed. I don't know if you've seen my German October timeline. You might not like it, but I think that the dynamics there and the way that the reactionary powers of Europe react, I think would be a good way to take inspiration from. And I would consider things like, if you're going to have a communist Hungary, then have a communist Balkans. If you're going to try to have it be that Germany is united under communism, there would need to be more territorial concessions, I feel. It's a really hard timeline to make work because of the all or nothing nature of the communist revolution. So, I for all it's worth, appreciate your submission. I don't have much time lately, but I hope I can pick your brain one day about this sort of stuff, because this is a type of timeline that I'm really interested in. But thank you very much for your submission. If you want to talk about the world of Revolution, there's a document here that you can look at for yourself. What do we got here? Where is the proper channel? Mod GDD submissions. So I want to go back to here. Okay. So there's been some more that have been posted. A probably new Le Deluge rework for Hungary and Balkans. Okay, that's interesting. I would like to look at that, but I can't. There's also Dusk of the Sovereign. These people submitted after the stream started, so I'm not going to be able to review these. But if you guys want to look at more things, check these out. I think that I'll do another one of these streams, but before I do that, I'll do another lore review stream potentially. Appreciate all the submissions. A lot of them are really interesting. Not much else to add. How long can I yap? I could probably yap for longer, but I have things to do around the house, so I'll need to get going. But thank you all very much for your submissions and your comments and discussions. Appreciate it a lot. This was really fun. Maybe I'll do it again someday. I will do another like Hoi 4 mod development related video at some point soon. But yeah, thank you all very much for your submissions again. Hope you have a good day. Goodbye.